What if I told you that everything you've been told about your limitations, your fears, your doubts, and even the very circumstances you think define your life, are all part of a story that was never meant to be yours? What if I told you that deep within you, hidden in plain sight, is a lock that holds the key to unlocking infinite power, the power to shape your reality, to break free from the chains of the past, and to create a life far beyond what you've imagined? You've been carrying the key your entire life, and now it's time to awaken to your true potential. The only thing that's been holding you back is the belief that you can't. But what if you could rewrite that belief right now? What if the life you've always dreamed of isn't out there waiting for you in some distant future, but is already inside you, waiting to be unlocked? The lock is real, and so is the key. It's time to open it. Welcome to the Universal Lock. Chapter 1. The Secret in Plain Sight. I need to tell you something that might sound impossible at first, but I promise you, by the time we finish this journey together, you'll understand that what I'm about to share is the most real thing you've ever encountered. There is a lock inside you, a universal lock, and you've been carrying the key your entire life without even knowing it. Let me start with a story. Not mine, but perhaps yours, perhaps everyone's. There was a time, probably when you were very young, when you believed anything was possible. You imagined yourself flying, and in your mind, you soared. You dreamed of impossible things, and in your heart, they felt absolutely real. You didn't question whether you deserved happiness or success or love. You simply expected it. You were born knowing something that most of us forget as we grow older, that you are not separate from the universe. You are a part of it. And that means you have access to its infinite creative power. But then something happened. Life happened. You were told what was realistic and what wasn't. You were taught to color inside the lines, to think inside the box, to keep your expectations reasonable. The world taught you about limitations, and slowly, subtly, you began to believe in them. The lock inside you, the one that controls access to your infinite potential, began to close. Not because it had to, but because you forgot it was there. Here's what I want you to understand right now. Before we go any further, that lock never disappeared. The key never left your possession. What you lost wasn't the ability to access your power. What you lost was the awareness that it existed in the first place. The secret has been hidden in plain sight all along. It's been whispered through ancient texts, embedded in spiritual teachings, hinted at by quantum physicists, and experienced by every person who has ever manifested something extraordinary in their life. The secret is this. Your consciousness is not a passive observer of reality. Your consciousness is the creator of it. I know that might sound like mystical nonsense or wishful thinking, but what if I told you that modern science is finally catching up to what mystics and sages have known for millennia? What if I told you that the very act of observation changes physical reality at the quantum level? What if I told you that your beliefs, your thoughts, and your expectations literally shape the neural pathways in your brain, which in turn shape your actions, which create your results, which reinforce your beliefs, in an endless loop of creation? You are not stuck with the life you have. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are not powerless in the face of the universe's grand design. You are the designer. You are the architect. You are the key holder. The universal lock exists within every single person on this planet, rich or poor, young or old, regardless of where you were born or what hand life has dealt you. The lock is there, waiting. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't judge. It simply is, and it's yours to unlock whenever you choose to remember how. But here's the thing about this lock. It's been designed in such a way that only you can open it. No one can do it for you. No guru, no teacher, no book, no program. They can show you where the lock is. They can remind you that you already have the key. But the act of unlocking, that's all you. Think about your life right now. Think about the patterns that keep repeating, the same type of relationships, the same financial struggles, the same emotional reactions, the same self-doubt. These aren't random. They're not evidence that you're broken or that the universe is against you. They're evidence of the lock at work. They're showing you exactly where you've sealed yourself off from possibility. And here's the beautiful part. The moment you become aware of the lock, the unlocking process has already begun. You see, the universal lock operates on a principle that seems almost too simple to be true. It responds to awareness. It responds to attention. It responds to intention. The very fact that you're here, listening to these words, means something in you has already stirred. Some part of you remembers. Some part of you knows there's more available to you than what you've been experiencing. That part of you, that's your inner key holder. That's the aspect of your consciousness that has never forgotten the truth of who you are. It's been waiting, patiently, for you to turn your attention back toward it. I spent years of my life searching for answers outside myself. I read the books, attended the seminars, followed the gurus. I was looking for someone to give me the secret, to hand me the key, to unlock my potential for me. And while I learned valuable things along the way, the real breakthrough came when I realized I was searching in the wrong direction. I wasn't missing anything. I wasn't lacking anything. I had simply forgotten to look within. The lock isn't out there in the world. It's in here, in your consciousness, in your awareness, in the space between your thoughts, in the beliefs you hold so deeply you don't even recognize them as beliefs. You think they're just reality. So let me ask you something, and I want you to really consider this. What if everything you think you know about your limitations is wrong? What if the story you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of is just that, a story? What if you could rewrite it? What if the pen has been in your hand the whole time? This is where we begin, not with doing, but with seeing, not with action, but with awareness. The first step to unlocking your universal lock is simply recognizing that it exists, acknowledging that you have power you haven't accessed yet, accepting that your current reality is not the ceiling of your potential. It's simply the reflection of your current beliefs and patterns. As we move through this journey together, I'm going to show you how to turn the key. I'm going to share with you the principles that govern the universal lock and how to work with them instead of against them. I'm going to give you practical tools and exercises that you can begin using immediately to start seeing changes in your life. But more than anything, I'm going to remind you of what you already know in your bones, that you are not ordinary, that you were not meant for a small life, that the universe did not create you to struggle and suffer and settle. You were created to expand, to create, to thrive, to become the fullest expression of your infinite potential. The secret has been in plain sight all along. It's been inside you, waiting, and now, finally, you're ready to see it. Welcome to the Unlocking. Chapter 2, The Forgotten Power of Your Mind. Your mind is the most sophisticated instrument in the known universe, more complex than any computer, more powerful than any machine, more mysterious than the deepest ocean. And yet, most of us use only a fraction of its capabilities. It's like owning a spacecraft and using it as a bicycle. Why? Because we've forgotten what the mind actually is and what it's capable of. Let me paint you a picture. Right now, as you listen to my words, your conscious mind is processing what I'm saying. It's judging, analyzing, comparing these ideas to what you already know. But beneath that surface awareness, there's an entire universe of activity happening that you're not even aware of. Your subconscious mind is running approximately 40 million operations per second, controlling your breathing, your heartbeat, your digestion, maintaining your balance, filtering sensory information, managing memories, and yes, creating your reality. That last part is what we've forgotten. We've been taught to think of the mind as something that observes reality, but the truth is far more profound. Your mind doesn't just observe reality, it constructs it. I'm not speaking metaphorically, I'm talking about actual, measurable, physical reality. Every single experience you have is filtered through your mind before you perceive it. The colors you see, the sounds you hear, the meanings you derive from events, all of it is created inside your consciousness. Your brain receives raw data from the world and then interprets that data based on your beliefs, past experiences, expectations, and focus. This means that two people can experience the exact same event and perceive it in completely different ways, not because one is right and the other is wrong, but because their minds are literally creating different realities from the same raw information. Think about this. When something bad happens to you, is it inherently bad? Or is it your mind labeling it as bad based on your beliefs about how things should be? I've seen people lose their jobs and call it the worst day of their lives. I've also seen people lose their jobs and call it the best thing that ever happened to them, a wake-up call that pushed them toward their true purpose. Same event, different minds, different realities. This is the power we've forgotten. This is the key that's been hiding in plain sight. Your subconscious mind is particularly powerful because it doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. When you vividly imagine something, your subconscious treats it as real. This is why athletes visualize their performance before competing. This is why you can make yourself nervous about an imaginary scenario that hasn't happened yet. This is why affirmations work when done properly. Your subconscious is always listening, always absorbing, always creating based on the information you feed it. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to change their reality using only their conscious mind. They try to think positive thoughts while their subconscious is running programs of fear, doubt, and limitation. It's like trying to sail a boat north while an underwater current pulls you south. You might make some progress, but you're fighting against a much stronger force. The universal lock can only be opened when your conscious and subconscious minds are aligned. When what you consciously desire matches what your subconscious believes is possible and true. This is the secret that changes everything. So how do we harness this forgotten power? How do we reprogram the subconscious and align it with our conscious desires? It starts with understanding three fundamental truths about your mind. First, your subconscious mind is literal. It doesn't understand jokes, sarcasm, or hypotheticals. When you say, "I'm so broke," even as a joke, your subconscious hears it as a declaration of truth and works to make it real. When you say, "I'll never find love," your subconscious accepts that as a command and helps you create experiences that confirm it. Your words and thoughts are instructions to your subconscious. Choose them carefully. Second, your subconscious mind is always working, even when you're not consciously aware of it. It's working when you sleep, when you're distracted, when you're focused on something else entirely. This is why solutions to problems often come to you in the shower or while you're driving. Your subconscious has been working on the problem in the background. You can harness this by deliberately giving your subconscious something to work on, a question, a goal, a vision, and then trusting it to deliver. Third, your subconscious mind learns through repetition and emotion. A thought once has little power. A thought with intense emotion has more power, but a thought repeated over and over, especially when paired with feeling, becomes a belief. And beliefs are the building blocks of your reality. This is why visualization is so powerful, not because it's magic, but because it engages your subconscious mind. When you visualize something vividly, adding sensory details and emotion, your subconscious experiences it as real. It begins to reorganize your neural pathways, your perceptions, and your actions to align with that vision. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life when I felt completely stuck. Every door seemed closed. Every opportunity seemed just out of reach. I kept telling myself I was trying my best, but nothing was changing. Then I learned something that shifted everything. I wasn't trying to create a new reality. I was trying to create from the same old mental patterns. I was using the same thoughts, the same beliefs, the same emotional state, and expecting different results. The breakthrough came when I realized I had to change my mind first, not my circumstances, not my luck, my mind. I had to reprogram my subconscious to believe that what I wanted was not only possible, but inevitable. I had to think new thoughts so many times that they became automatic. I had to feel the emotions of my desired reality before it manifested physically. And you know what happened? Reality began to shift. Not overnight, but undeniably. Opportunities appeared, solutions emerged, doors opened, but nothing in the external world had changed first. I had changed, my mind had changed, and reality followed. This is the forgotten power you possess. Your mind is not a passive recipient of reality. It is an active creator of reality. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every emotion you feel is sending out a signal into the universe, attracting and creating circumstances that match that signal. The question is, what signal are you sending? Are you broadcasting limitation or possibility, fear or faith, scarcity or abundance? Your current life is the answer to that question. Look around. Your relationships, your bank account, your health, your career, they're all showing you what's been programmed into your subconscious mind. But here's the empowering truth. If your subconscious created your current reality, it can create a new one. The same power that has been working against you can work for you. You just have to remember how to use it. Start paying attention to your thoughts. Notice what you say to yourself in the quiet moments. Observe what you believe about yourself, about others, about life. These aren't just random thoughts. They're creative commands. They're instructions to your subconscious about what kind of reality to construct. The power of your mind is not forgotten by the universe. It's only forgotten by you, and the moment you remember it, the moment you begin to consciously direct it, everything changes. This is the second key to unlocking your universal lock, reclaiming the forgotten power of your mind and learning to use it deliberately, consciously, and in alignment with your highest vision for yourself. Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess. It's time to remember how to use it. Chapter 3. The Law of Universal Attraction. Now that you're beginning to remember the power of your mind, it's time to understand how that power interacts with the universe itself. This brings us to one of the most misunderstood yet profoundly important principles, the law of universal attraction. I know what you might be thinking. You've heard about the law of attraction before. Maybe you tried it, made a vision board, thought positive thoughts, and nothing happened. Or maybe you're skeptical because it sounds too good to be true. Just think about what you want and it magically appears. That's not how life works, right? You're right. That's not how it works. And that's exactly why most people fail with the law of attraction. They've been taught a watered-down, oversimplified version that's missing the most crucial components. The law of attraction isn't magic. It's not wishful thinking. It's physics. It's biology. It's neuroscience. It's the way consciousness and energy interact with the field of infinite possibility that quantum physicists have discovered exists all around us. Let me break this down in a way that makes sense. Everything in the universe is energy, vibrating at different frequencies. This isn't mystical. This is basic physics. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're listening to this on, your body, your thoughts. All of it is energy in different forms, vibrating at different rates. Solid matter is just energy vibrating slowly. Thoughts are energy vibrating quickly. Here's what's fascinating. Your thoughts and emotions create an energetic frequency that radiates out from you like a radio signal. And just like a radio signal, this frequency attracts matching frequencies back to you. This is where the phrase "like attracts like" comes from. You're not attracting what you want, you're attracting what you are. You're attracting what matches your dominant vibration. If you're vibrating at the frequency of lack, constantly thinking about what you don't have, feeling the emotions of scarcity, focusing on problems, you're broadcasting that signal into the universe. And the universe responds by sending you more experiences that match that frequency. More lack, more problems, more scarcity. But if you're vibrating at the frequency of abundance, feeling grateful, focusing on possibilities, believing in your worthiness, you're broadcasting that signal, and the universe matches it with people, opportunities, and circumstances that align with abundance. Now, here's where most people get confused. They think, okay, I'll just think positive thoughts and feel abundant, and money will appear in my bank account. That's not how it works, because that's not complete alignment. True attraction requires three elements working together: thought, emotion, and belief. Thought is the seed. It's the initial idea or desire. I want to create financial freedom. That's a thought. But a thought alone is weak. It's just a possibility floating in your consciousness. Emotion is the water that makes the seed grow. Emotion is energy in motion. It's what gives your thoughts power and momentum. When you think about financial freedom and feel the emotions of what that would be like, the relief, the peace, the excitement, the gratitude, you're adding energy to the thought. You're making it more real in your consciousness. But even thought plus emotion isn't enough if you don't have the third element, belief. Belief is the soil. It's the foundation that either allows the seed to take root or prevents it from growing at all. You can think about financial freedom all day long. You can even feel excited about it. But if deep down you don't believe you're worthy of it, or you don't believe it's possible for someone like you, or you don't believe in your ability to create it, that thought will never manifest into reality. This is why affirmations often fail. People stand in front of a mirror saying, "I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy," while their subconscious is screaming, "No, you're not. Look at your bank account." The conscious thought and the subconscious belief are in conflict, and the subconscious always wins because that's where the real power lives. So how do we align all three? How do we make our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs work together in harmony? It starts with understanding that the universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your frequency. Your frequency is determined by your dominant thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. Not what you occasionally think about or hope for, but what you predominantly focus on and truly believe at a core level. This is why gratitude is so powerful. When you feel genuine gratitude for what you already have, you're vibrating at the frequency of abundance. You're telling the universe, "I have plenty, I am blessed. There is enough." And the universe says, "Okay, here's more of that." This is why worry is so destructive. When you worry, you're imagining negative outcomes with intense emotion. You're essentially using the law of attraction to create what you don't want. You're rehearsing disaster, and your subconscious can't tell the difference between a real disaster and an imagined one. So it treats your worry as a blueprint and starts creating circumstances that match it. Let me give you a practical example. Two people want to start a business. Person A thinks about their business idea and feels excited, but then immediately starts worrying about all the things that could go wrong. They don't have enough money. They're not smart enough. The market is too competitive. They might fail and look foolish. This person is energetically pulling in both directions, desire and fear. What do you think the universe hears? The louder signal. And fear is always louder than desire because it comes with more emotion. Person B also wants to start a business. They think about their idea and feel excited. When fear or doubt arises, they acknowledge it but don't dwell on it. Instead, They consciously redirect their attention to what's possible. They visualize success. They feel gratitude for the opportunity. They believe in their ability to figure things out. They take action from a place of confidence rather than desperation. This person is broadcasting a clear, consistent signal, and the universe matches it with resources, connections, insights, and opportunities. Same desire, different frequency, different results. Here's what I want you to understand. The law of attraction is always working, always. You can't turn it off. You're attracting all the time, whether you're conscious of it or not. The question is, what are you attracting? Are you attracting by default or by design? Most people attract by default. They let their thoughts wander wherever they want to go, usually to problems, worries, and complaints. They feel whatever emotions arise without questioning them. They believe whatever they were programmed to believe by their parents, their culture, their past experiences, and they wonder why life keeps giving them the same results. But you can choose to attract by design. You can consciously direct your thoughts. You can deliberately cultivate emotions that match your desires. You can challenge and change beliefs that don't serve you. This is not about denying reality or pretending problems don't exist. This is about recognizing that your focus and frequency determine which version of reality you experience. There are infinite possibilities available to you right now. The universe is a field of pure potential. What you focus on, what you believe, what you feel, that's what you pull from the field of possibility into your actual experience. Let me share something that might sound radical. Nothing has meaning except the meaning you give it. When something happens in your life, the event itself is neutral. It's your interpretation of the event that makes it good or bad, opportunity or obstacle, blessing or curse. Two people get laid off from their jobs. One sees it as rejection and failure. The other sees it as redirection and opportunity. Who do you think has a better chance of landing an even better job? Who do you think is sending out a frequency that will attract new possibilities? The law of universal attraction is not about getting whatever you want just by thinking about it. It's about becoming the energetic match for what you desire. It's about aligning your inner state with your outer goals. It's about recognizing that you are not separate from the universe. You are a part of it, and you have the ability to work with its laws instead of against them. Here's your practical exercise for this chapter. For the next 7 days, I want you to become aware of your dominant vibration. Pay attention to what you're predominantly thinking about and feeling throughout the day. Are you focused on what's wrong or what's right? Are you feeling lack or abundance, fear or faith? Don't judge yourself, just observe, because awareness is the first step to change. You can't shift your frequency if you don't know what frequency you're broadcasting. And here's a simple tool you can use anytime. Ask yourself, is this thought, emotion, belief attracting what I want or repelling it? If it's not aligned with what you desire, you have the power to shift it. Choose a better thought. Cultivate a better emotion. Challenge the limiting belief. The universe is always listening, always responding, always matching your frequency with circumstances that reflect it back to you. What do you want it to hear? Chapter 4. Perception is the lock. Everything we've discussed so far, the universal lock, the power of your mind, the law of attraction, all of it hinges on one fundamental truth. Your perception creates your reality, not influences it, not affects it, creates it. This might be the hardest concept to truly grasp because we've been conditioned to believe that reality is objective, fixed, independent of our observation. We think we're looking at reality as it is, but we're not. We're looking at reality as we are. Let me explain what I mean. Your perception is not a clear window through which you view objective reality. Your perception is more like a filter or a lens or even a projector. Everything you experience passes through this filter before it reaches your awareness. And that filter is made up of your beliefs, your past experiences, your expectations, your fears, your desires, and your cultural conditioning. Two people can look at the exact same situation and see completely different things, not because one is right and one is wrong, but because they're perceiving through different filters, and whichever perception they hold becomes their reality. Think about this. Have you ever been in a bad mood and everything seemed to go wrong? The traffic was terrible, people were rude, nothing went your way. Then another day when you're in a great mood, everything seems to flow perfectly. People are kind, you catch all the green lights, opportunities appear out of nowhere. Did the world change? Or did your perception change? Your perception changed, and your experience changed with it. This is not just philosophical, it's measurable. Scientists have discovered that your brain's reticular activating system filters out most of the information available to you at any given moment. If it didn't, you'd be overwhelmed by the sheer volume of sensory data. Your brain only shows you what it thinks is relevant based on what you're focused on and what you believe to be true. This is why when you're thinking about buying a certain car, you suddenly see that car everywhere. The cars were always there, but your brain filtered them out because they weren't relevant to you. Once they became relevant, your perception shifted, and suddenly you see them everywhere. Your perception is the lock that either keeps you trapped in limitation or opens you up to infinite possibility. If you perceive yourself as powerless, you'll filter out opportunities and notice only obstacles. If you perceive yourself as capable, you'll notice resources and solutions. Same world, different perception, different experience. If you perceive life as a struggle, you'll create struggle. If you perceive life as an adventure, you will create adventure. Your perception is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. I once knew two brothers who inherited the exact same challenging childhood circumstances. Their father was absent. Their mother struggled with addiction. They grew up in poverty. But these two brothers ended up living completely different lives. One brother perceived his childhood as evidence that he was destined to fail. He saw himself as a victim. He believed the world was against him, and his life reflected that perception: struggles, setbacks, and unfulfilled potential. The other brother perceived the exact same childhood as evidence of his strength. He saw himself as a survivor. He believed he could overcome anything because he already had, and his life reflected that perception: resilience, success, and continuous growth. Same circumstances, different perception, different reality. This is the power and the danger of perception. It's the lock that keeps most people trapped in patterns they don't want, repeating the same experiences over and over. Because they're not seeing reality, they're seeing their perception of reality, and they keep confirming that perception, never questioning whether there might be a different way to see things. But here's the liberating truth: perception is not fixed, it's flexible. It can be shifted, expanded, transformed. And when your perception changes, your reality must change. Because reality is not separate from your perception, it's created by it. So how do we shift our perception? How do we unlock this particular lock? The first step is recognizing that your current perception is not the truth. It's a truth, it's one way of seeing things, but it's not the only way. This requires humility and openness. It requires being willing to question what you've always assumed to be true. Ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? Not about everything, but about this one thing, this one belief, this one way of seeing myself or my situation. What if there's another perspective I haven't considered? The second step is actively seeking different perspectives. When you're stuck in a problem, instead of ruminating on the problem through the same perceptual filter, ask yourself, How would someone I admire see this situation? How would my wiser future self perceive this? If this were happening for me instead of to me, what would be the gift or lesson? These questions literally shift your perception. They give you a different lens through which to view the same circumstances, and often you'll discover that the problem wasn't the situation itself, it was how you were perceiving it. The third step is understanding that perception is shaped by focus. Whatever you focus on expands in your awareness. If you focus on what's wrong, you'll see more wrong. If you focus on what's possible, you'll see more possibilities. Your perception follows your focus like a spotlight follows a dancer on stage. This is why gratitude is such a powerful practice. When you focus on what you're grateful for, your perception shifts. To notice more things to be grateful for, you're literally training your brain to filter reality through a lens of abundance rather than lack. Let me give you a practical example from my own life. Years ago, I was in a job I hated. Every day felt like torture. I perceived it as a trap, a prison, a waste of my potential. And that perception made it unbearable. I was miserable. Then someone asked me a question that changed everything. What if this job is exactly where you need to be right now? What if it's teaching you something essential? What if you're here by design, not by default? I resisted the question at first, but I decided to experiment with it. I shifted my perception. Instead of seeing the job as a trap, I started seeing it as a training ground. Instead of feeling like a victim, I started seeing myself as someone gathering valuable experience and skills. Instead of focusing on what I hated, I started noticing what I was learning. My perception shifted, and you know what happened? My experience shifted. The job didn't change. My boss didn't suddenly become amazing. The work itself stayed the same. But I was different. I was no longer suffering because I was no longer perceiving it through the lens of victimhood. And here's what's remarkable. Within 3 months of shifting my perception, an opportunity appeared that led me to a much better position. But it wouldn't have appeared if I had stayed in the old perception, because I wouldn't have been in the right mental and emotional state to recognize it or attract it. Your perception is the lock, and your awareness is the key. When you become aware that your perception is creating your experience, you gain the power to shift it. You're no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You're no longer trapped by how things appear to be, because you understand that how things appear is determined by how you're looking at them. This doesn't mean denying reality or pretending everything is perfect when it's not. This means recognizing that there are multiple ways to perceive any situation, and you have the power to choose which perception you want to hold. Here's your practical exercise for this chapter. Choose one area of your life that feels stuck or problematic. Write down how you currently perceive it. What story are you telling yourself about it? What does it mean about you or your life? Now, deliberately shift your perception. What's a different way to see this same situation? What would someone who loves you say about it? What might your future self, looking back, see that you can't see now? What if this situation is happening for you, not to you? What might be the hidden gift or lesson? You don't have to believe the new perception immediately. You just have to be willing to consider it. Because in that willingness, in that openness to seeing things differently, the lock begins to turn. Your perception has been creating your reality all along. Now it's time to consciously choose what you want to perceive, knowing that your external reality will eventually match your internal perception. The lock is your perception. The key is your awareness, and you've had both all along. Chapter 5. The First Step to Infinite Power. We've arrived at the threshold. You understand that the universal lock exists within you. You've remembered the forgotten power of your mind. You know how the law of attraction operates. You've discovered that perception creates reality. Now comes the most important moment of all, the first step. And I need to be clear about something right from the start. This first step is not what you think it is. Most people assume the first step toward change is taking action in the external world, getting a new job, starting a diet, ending a relationship, beginning a project. But that's not the first step, that's a later step. The true first step happens in a much more subtle, yet infinitely more powerful place. The first step to infinite power is deciding, not wishing, not hoping, not wanting, deciding. There's a profound difference between wanting something and deciding to have it. Most people want a better life. They want more money, better health, fulfilling relationships, meaningful work. But wanting keeps you in a state of lack. Wanting means you don't have it. Wanting means it's outside of you, separate from you, something you're reaching for but never quite grasping. Deciding is different. Deciding means you've closed the door on all other possibilities. You're not entertaining doubt. You're not leaving yourself an escape route. You're not hedging your bets. You've made a choice, and that choice is final. When you truly decide, something shifts in your consciousness. It's like a switch flips. Your entire being aligns behind that decision. Your subconscious mind accepts it as reality and begins working toward it. Your perception shifts to notice opportunities you couldn't see before. Your energy changes, your actions change. Everything changes because you've changed at the most fundamental level. Think about decisions you've made in your life where there was no going back. Maybe it was deciding to end a toxic relationship. Maybe it was deciding to move to a new city. Maybe it was deciding to start a business. In those moments, when you truly decided, didn't you feel different? Didn't you feel a sense of power, clarity, and inevitability? That's the power of decision. That's the first step. But here's what makes this step so challenging for most people. Deciding requires letting go of the old identity, the old story, the old way of being. It requires stepping into the unknown. It requires courage. Most people never truly decide because they're too attached to who they've been. They're afraid of disappointing others. They're terrified of failing. They're comfortable in their discomfort. So they stay in wanting mode, wishing and hoping and dreaming, but never committing. But you can't unlock infinite power from a place of maybe. You can't access your full potential from a place of I'll try. The universal lock only responds to I am, I will, I decide. Let me share something profound that I learned through my own journey. Consciousness and action are not separate. They're interconnected. Your consciousness creates your actions, and your actions reinforce your consciousness. This is a loop that either keeps you stuck or propels you forward, depending on which direction it's turning. When you decide, truly decide, at the level of consciousness, action becomes effortless. Not easy, but effortless. You're not forcing yourself to take action. You're not relying on willpower or discipline. You're simply being pulled forward by the clarity and power of your decision. I've watched people struggle for years to lose weight, trying every diet, pushing themselves to exercise, failing over and over. Then something shifts. They decide, not I want to lose weight, but I am a healthy person who honors my body. That decision changes their consciousness, which changes their actions, which changes their results. The same person who couldn't stick to a diet for 2 weeks suddenly finds it natural to make healthy choices because they're no longer fighting against their own consciousness. The same principle applies to everything: financial abundance, fulfilling relationships, creative expression, spiritual growth. It all starts with the decision at the level of consciousness. So what does it mean to decide to unlock your full potential? What does that decision actually look like? It means deciding that you are no longer available for limitation, that you're no longer willing to settle for less than what's possible for you. that you're no longer going to let fear, doubt, or the opinions of others determine your path. It means deciding that your past does not define your future, that your current circumstances are not your final destination, that the story you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of is just that, a story, and you have the power to write a new one. It means deciding to take full responsibility for your life, not blame, responsibility. Recognizing that while you may not control everything that happens to you, you absolutely control how you respond, what you focus on, what you believe, and what actions you take. This decision is not made once and forgotten. It's made again and again, especially when things get difficult. Because they will get difficult. Old patterns will resurface. Doubt will creep in. External circumstances will challenge your commitment. This is where most people abandon their decision and retreat to the familiar comfort of wanting without committing. But when you've truly decided, when you've connected to your decision at the deepest level, you don't give up when it gets hard. You remember why you decided in the first place. You reconnect with your vision, you reaffirm your choice, and you keep moving forward. Here's what I want you to understand. The first step is not a physical action. It's a shift in consciousness. It's a realignment of your being. It's a decision that reverberates through every level of your existence, mental, emotional, spiritual, and eventually physical. And this decision doesn't have to be dramatic or grand. It doesn't require a life-altering announcement or a complete overhaul of everything. Sometimes the most powerful decisions are the quiet ones, made in the stillness of your own heart, when you finally say to yourself, I'm ready, I'm willing, I'm done settling, I'm unlocking my potential starting now. From that decision, everything else flows. The actions become clear, the path reveals itself. The resources appear, the right people show up, not by magic, but by the natural law of consciousness, creating reality. So here's your actionable practice, and I'm asking you to do this not later, not when you feel ready, but right now as you're listening to these words. Decide on one specific area of your life where you're ready to unlock your potential. Just one, not 5, not everything at once. One area where you're willing to let go of limitation and step into possibility. Now create a daily affirmation that reflects your decision, not what you want, not what you hope for, what you've decided. Write it in present tense as if it's already true at the level of consciousness, even if it hasn't manifested physically yet. For example, I am financially abundant and create value effortlessly. Or I am worthy of deep, loving relationships. Or I am a powerful creator expressing my gifts fully in the world. Or I am healthy, vibrant, and honoring my body's wisdom. Say this affirmation every morning and every evening, but don't just say it mechanically. Connect with it, feel it, let it sink into your subconscious. Let it reshape your consciousness. Let it remind you of your decision. And then, and this is crucial, take at least one action every day that aligns with that decision. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be consistent, because action reinforces consciousness, and consciousness directs action. They work together, building momentum, creating change, unlocking potential. The first step to infinite power is not hoping things will get better. It's not wishing for change. It's not even taking action from a place of doubt and desperation. The first step is deciding with absolute clarity and commitment that you are done living below your potential, that you are ready to unlock the power that's been inside you all along, that you are stepping into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. That decision, that single, powerful, unwavering decision, is the key that turns the universal lock. Make the decision now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now, because you've been ready all along. You just needed to remember that the key has always been in your hand. The lock is within you. The key is your decision. An infinite power awaits on the other side. Welcome to Act 1. This is where your transformation begins. End of Act 1, Chapter 6. Reprogramming the subconscious. Now that you've made the decision to unlock your infinite potential, we need to talk about the gatekeeper that's been controlling your life without you even realizing it. Your subconscious mind. I touched on this earlier, but now we're going deeper, because here's the truth. No matter how strong your conscious decision is, no matter how powerful your intentions are, if your subconscious mind hasn't gotten the memo, you're going to find yourself sabotaging your own efforts. It's like trying to drive forward with the parking brake on. You might move a little, but it's going to be exhausting, frustrating, and painfully slow. Your subconscious mind is running the show about 95% of the time. Think about that. Only 5% of your daily actions, thoughts, and behaviors are consciously directed. The other 95%? Pure autopilot, pure programming. This programming started when you were very young, before you had the ability to critically evaluate what you were learning. You absorbed beliefs about yourself, about life, about what's possible and what's not, like a sponge absorbs water. You learned them from your parents, your teachers, your culture, your experiences, and most of these programs are still running in the background, decades later, determining what you believe you can have, what you deserve, and what's available to you. The good news? These programs can be changed. The subconscious mind, for all its power, is remarkably simple in how it learns. It doesn't think critically. It doesn't judge. It simply accepts what you repeatedly tell it as truth. This is both the problem and the solution. The problem is that you've been unconsciously programming your subconscious with limiting beliefs for years. Every time you said, "I'm not good enough," your subconscious listened. Every time you thought, "I can't do this," your subconscious took notes. Every time you felt unworthy or incapable, your subconscious created neural pathways that reinforced those feelings. But the solution is that you can consciously reprogram it. You can install new beliefs, new patterns, new instructions. You can literally change the operating system of your mind. Let me share how I discovered this in my own life. I used to have a deeply ingrained belief that I wasn't smart enough to succeed in business. I could trace this belief back to a specific comment a teacher made when I was 12 years old. One throwaway sentence that lodged itself into my subconscious and ran quietly in the background for decades, sabotaging opportunities and reinforcing my limitations. I tried to overcome it with positive thinking. I tried to push through it with willpower, but nothing changed because I was only working at the conscious level. The subconscious program was still running, still in control. Everything changed when I learned how to actually reprogram my subconscious mind. It wasn't overnight, it wasn't magic, but it was systematic and it worked. Within 6 months, I noticed that the old belief had lost its grip. I started taking actions I never would have taken before. I stopped second-guessing myself constantly. The program had been overwritten. So how do you reprogram your subconscious? Let me give you the 3 most powerful methods I've discovered. First, repetition with feeling. Remember, your subconscious learns through repetition and emotion. This is why affirmations work when done correctly, but most people do them wrong. They stand in front of a mirror, mechanically repeating words they don't believe, feeling nothing. That doesn't work. Effective reprogramming requires you to repeat your new belief with genuine feeling. You need to embody the emotion of what you're affirming. If you're affirming abundance, feel abundant as you say it. If you're affirming confidence, embody confidence as you speak. Your subconscious responds to the emotional charge, not just the words. Do this first thing in the morning when your brain is transitioning from sleep to wakefulness. That's when your subconscious is most receptive. Do it again before bed. Do it consistently for at least 21 days, because that's typically how long it takes to begin forming new neural pathways. Second, Visualization with sensory detail. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you visualize with enough detail, engaging all your senses, adding emotion, making it feel real, your subconscious accepts it as an actual memory or experience. This is incredibly powerful. Athletes have known this for years. They mentally rehearse their performance so many times that when they actually compete, their subconscious treats it like something they've done successfully 1,000 times before. You can do the same with any goal or belief you want to install. Spend time each day visualizing yourself as the person who already has what you desire. Don't just see it, feel it, hear it, smell it, taste it. Make it so vivid that your subconscious has no choice but to accept it as real. Third, conscious observation and interruption. This one requires vigilance, but it's essential. You need to become aware of the old programs when they run. When that familiar thought pops up, I can't do this, or I'm not worthy, or it never works out for me, catch it, notice it, and consciously interrupt it. Don't fight it. Don't judge yourself for having the thought. Just acknowledge it. There's that old program again. And then consciously choose a different thought. Replace it with your new program. I am capable. I am worthy. Things are always working out for me. This interruption process is like editing code in real time. Each time you catch an old program and replace it with a new one, you're weakening the old neural pathway and strengthening the new one. Over time, the new program becomes automatic. There's a fourth method I need to mention, though it requires guidance, hypnosis, or guided meditation. When you enter a deeply relaxed state, your conscious mind steps aside and your subconscious becomes highly receptive to new suggestions. This is why guided meditations for reprogramming limiting beliefs can be so effective. You're speaking directly to the subconscious without the conscious mind filtering or resisting. I want to give you a simple guided process you can use right now or anytime you need to reprogram a limiting belief. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths, letting each exhale release tension from your body. Allow yourself to relax deeply, feeling your body becoming heavy and calm. Now identify one limiting belief you want to release. Just one. Maybe it's I'm not good enough. Maybe it's I don't deserve success. Maybe it's I'm always struggling financially. Whatever it is, acknowledge its presence without judgment. Imagine this belief as a physical object, maybe a stone, a chain, or a dark cloud. See it clearly in your mind. Notice where you feel it in your body. Now imagine yourself gently releasing this object. Watch it dissolve or float away or crumble into dust. As it disappears, feel the lightness in your body. Feel the space it's left behind. Into that space, install your new belief. State it clearly. I am worthy. I am capable. I am abundant. Feel the truth of it. See yourself living as if this belief has always been true. Watch yourself making decisions, taking actions, experiencing life from this new belief. Make it vivid. Make it real. Stay in this visualization for at least 5 minutes, letting your subconscious absorb this new programming. When you're ready, take a deep breath and open your eyes. The work has been done. The new program has been installed. Now it just needs to be reinforced through repetition. Here's what I need you to understand. Reprogramming your subconscious is not optional. If you want to unlock your infinite potential, you can have all the conscious desires in the world, but if your subconscious believes something different, it will win every time. It's stronger, it's more persistent, it's always on. But when your conscious intentions and your subconscious beliefs are aligned, that's when miracles happen. That's when you become unstoppable. That's when the universal lock swings wide open because there's no internal resistance holding it closed. Your subconscious has been programmed, whether you did it intentionally or not, whether you like the programming or not, it's there. The question is, are you going to let those old programs continue running your life, or are you going to take control and install new ones? The power to reprogram your mind is yours. The tools are simple. The results are profound. Start today. Choose one limiting belief. Use these methods to replace it with an empowering one, and watch as your external reality begins to shift to match your new internal programming. Your subconscious is listening. What do you want it to hear? Chapter 7. The Power of Self-Belief. There's a secret that successful people know, whether they can articulate it or not. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even hard work, though that matters. The secret is this: they believe in themselves even when no one else does, especially when no one else does. Self-belief is the ultimate activator of the universal lock. You can know all the techniques, understand all the principles, take all the right actions, but without genuine self-belief, you'll stop just short of your breakthrough every single time. Why? Because self-belief determines how far you're willing to go, how much you're willing to risk, and whether you'll persist when things get difficult. It's the foundation upon which everything else is built. Let me be honest with you about something. I spent years trying to build success without real self-belief. I had surface confidence. I could talk a good game. But deep down, I didn't truly believe I was capable of extraordinary things. I believed I was ordinary, and ordinary people don't achieve extraordinary results. That belief limited everything I attempted. I would start projects with enthusiasm, but at the first sign of difficulty, I'd quit. I would pursue opportunities, but I'd unconsciously sabotage them because I didn't believe I deserved them. I would set goals, but I'd set the bar just low enough that failure wouldn't hurt too much. This is what lack of self-belief does. It keeps you playing small. It keeps you safe. It keeps you from ever really trying, because if you never really try, you never really fail. And if you never really fail, you can maintain the comfortable illusion that you could have succeeded if you wanted to. But here's the painful truth. Not trying is the worst kind of failure because it's a failure of belief. It's a failure of faith in yourself. It's giving up before you even start. Self-belief isn't arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than others or that you'll never make mistakes. Self-belief is simply the quiet, unwavering knowing that you are capable, that you are worthy, and that you will figure things out no matter what challenges arise. People with genuine self-belief don't need external validation to take action. They don't need permission. They don't need certainty. They trust themselves enough to move forward even in uncertainty. So how do you build self-belief, especially if you've spent years doubting yourself? The first thing you need to understand is that self-belief is not something you're born with or without. It's not a fixed trait. It's a skill that can be developed through practice and evidence. That last word is crucial. Evidence. Your brain believes what it has evidence for. If all the evidence you've collected says, "I can't do hard things," then your brain will believe you can't do hard things. But if you start deliberately collecting evidence that proves, "I can do hard things," your brain has to update its belief. This is why starting small is so powerful. You don't need to prove you can climb Mount Everest tomorrow. You need to prove you can do one difficult thing today, then another tomorrow, and another the next day. Each small win is evidence. Each kept promise to yourself is proof. Each time you do what you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it, you're building self-belief. I started rebuilding my self-belief with ridiculously small commitments. I would tell myself, "I'm going to make my bed every morning for a week." That's it. That was my goal, and I did it. At the end of that week, I had evidence. I said I would do something, and I did it. My brain registered that as proof that I can be trusted. Then I made slightly bigger commitments. Exercise 3 times this week. Read for 30 minutes each day. Complete this project by Friday. Each time I followed through, I collected more evidence. My self-belief grew not through affirmations alone, but through demonstrated proof. But here's where most people get stuck. They wait until they believe before they act. They think, once I believe in myself, then I'll take action. But it doesn't work that way. Self-belief comes from action, not before it. You build belief by doing things that scare you and proving to yourself that you survive. You build belief by attempting difficult things and discovering you're more capable than you thought. This is why self-doubt is so insidious. It convinces you not to try, and by not trying, you never collect evidence that contradicts the doubt. You stay stuck in a loop where doubt prevents action, and lack of action confirms the doubt. Breaking this loop requires courage. It requires you to act in spite of the doubt, not in the absence of it. You take the step even though you're not sure. You make the attempt even though you might fail, because either you succeed and gain confidence, or you fail and discover that failure isn't as devastating as you feared, and that's confidence too. Let me tell you about a pivotal moment in my journey. I had an opportunity to speak at a conference, something I desperately wanted to do but was terrified of. My immediate reaction was to decline. I had 100 reasons why I wasn't ready, why I wasn't good enough, why I should wait until I was more experienced. Then I realized something. I would never feel ready. Self-doubt would always provide reasons to wait. If I was going to build real self-belief, I had to act before I felt ready. So I said yes. And I was terrible. Seriously, it was not good. But you know what? I survived. I learned. And most importantly, I proved to myself that I could do something terrifying and come out the other side. That one experience, even though it wasn't a success by traditional measures, built more self-belief than years of positive affirmations. Because self-belief isn't built in comfort, it's built in the arena. It's built by trying things you're not sure you can do. It's built by being willing to look foolish, to struggle, to fail, and to keep going anyway. There's another crucial element to building self-belief: the way you talk to yourself. Your internal dialogue either reinforces or undermines your belief in yourself every single day. Most people are brutally critical of themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they care about. They focus on every mistake, every flaw, every shortcoming. They replay failures endlessly. They catastrophize setbacks. And they wonder why they don't believe in themselves. If you want to build self-belief, you need to become your own best advocate, not your harshest critic. This doesn't mean lying to yourself or ignoring areas for growth. It means speaking to yourself with the same encouragement, compassion, and faith that you would offer to someone you love who is trying to grow. When you make a mistake, instead of "I'm such an idiot," try "I'm learning and growing." When you face a challenge, instead of "I can't do this," try "This is difficult, but I'm figuring it out." When you experience a setback, instead of "I knew I would fail," try "This didn't work, so I'll try a different approach." These shifts in self-talk might feel awkward at first, especially if you've been criticizing yourself for years. But remember, your subconscious is always listening. Every word you say to yourself is programming. You get to choose what program you install. Here's your practical exercise for building unshakable self-belief. Every evening, for the next 30 days, write down 3 things you did that day that required courage, discipline, or effort. They don't have to be big. I went to the gym even though I didn't feel like it. I had a difficult conversation I'd been avoiding. I worked on my project for an hour despite feeling stuck. You're deliberately collecting evidence of your capability, You're training your brain to notice what you're doing right, instead of only focusing on what went wrong. You're building a case for self-belief based on actual proof. And every morning, stand in front of a mirror, look yourself in the eye and say, I believe in myself. I am capable. I trust myself to handle whatever comes my way. Say it with conviction. Let yourself feel it, even if it's just for a moment. Self-belief is the activator of your infinite potential because it gives you permission to fully show up, to fully try, to fully commit. It removes the internal resistance that keeps the universal lock stuck. You don't need to believe you're perfect. You just need to believe you're capable of growth. You don't need to believe you'll never fail. You just need to believe you'll survive failure and learn from it. You don't need to believe you have all the answers. You just need to believe you can figure things out. That's self-belief, and it's yours to claim, starting right now. Believe in yourself first. Everything else follows. Chapter 8. Aligning with the universe. There's a flow to the universe, a rhythm, a current. You can feel it in those moments when everything seems to fall into place, effortlessly, when the right opportunities appear at the right time, when you feel like you're being carried toward your goals instead of fighting for every inch of progress. That's alignment. That's what it feels like when you're moving with the universe instead of against it. Most people spend their lives swimming upstream. They're working hard, pushing, forcing, trying to make things happen through sheer willpower. And they wonder why everything feels so difficult, why they're exhausted, why success feels like such a struggle. Here's what they don't realize. The universe isn't withholding. It's not making things difficult on purpose. They're simply out of alignment. They're trying to force doors open that aren't meant for them, while ignoring the doors that are swinging wide. Alignment isn't about surrendering your power or waiting passively for things to happen. It's about recognizing that you are part of a larger system, a vast intelligence that's always working toward expansion, growth, and the highest good. When you align with that intelligence, when you move in harmony with it, your path becomes clearer and your progress becomes easier. So what does it mean to be aligned with the universe? It means your inner state matches the frequency of what you want to create. It means your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions are in harmony rather than in conflict. It means you're following your intuition instead of overriding it. It means you're saying yes to what expands you and no to what contracts you. Think of the universe like a river. You can try to swim against the current. You might make some progress, but it's going to be exhausting and slow. You can tread water and stay in one place. Or you can turn around, align yourself with the direction the river is flowing, and let it carry you forward while you navigate. That's what alignment does. It doesn't remove the need for effort or action, but it makes your efforts exponentially more effective because you're working with universal forces instead of against them. I learned this lesson the hard way. For years, I had a vision of what my life should look like. I had specific goals, specific timelines, a specific path I thought I needed to follow, and I pushed, I forced, I exhausted myself trying to make reality conform to my plan. But things kept not working out the way I expected. Opportunities fell through, plans collapsed, doors slammed shut. I thought the universe was against me. I thought I was being tested or punished. Then someone asked me a question that changed my perspective. What if the universe isn't blocking you? What if it's redirecting you toward something better? That question opened something in me. I realized I had been so attached to my specific vision of how things should unfold that I couldn't see the better opportunities the universe was presenting. I was out of alignment not because I was doing anything wrong, but because I was trying to control outcomes instead of trusting the process. When I finally let go, not of my desires, but of my rigid attachment to how they had to manifest, everything shifted. Opportunities appeared that I never could have planned for. Connections happened that made no logical sense, but turned out to be exactly what I needed. I was still taking action, still working toward my goals, but I was doing it with a sense of ease and trust instead of desperation and force. That's the difference alignment makes. So how do you align yourself with the universe? How do you tap into that flow? The first key is being present. Alignment happens in the now, not in your worries about the future or your regrets about the past. When you're fully present, you can feel the subtle guidance that's always available to you. You can sense whether something feels right or off. You can hear your intuition speaking beneath the noise of your thoughts. Most people are so busy planning, analyzing, and worrying that they're never truly present. They miss the signs, they ignore the synchronicities, they override their inner knowing with their mental chatter. Practice coming back to now throughout your day. Pause, take a breath, feel your body, notice your surroundings. This simple act of presence opens the channel for alignment. The second key is gratitude. This might sound simple, but it's profound. Gratitude immediately shifts your frequency from lack to abundance. When you're grateful for what you have, you're sending a signal to the universe that says, I am blessed, I am provided for, there is enough. And the universe responds to that signal by providing more to be grateful for. Ingratitude, on the other hand, broadcasts lack. Complaint broadcasts dissatisfaction. Resentment broadcasts resistance. These frequencies block alignment because they're focused on what's wrong rather than what's working. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect or denying real problems. It means consciously choosing to notice and appreciate what is good, what is working, what you do have. Even in difficult circumstances, there is always something to be grateful for. Find it. Focus on it. Let that frequency of appreciation become your dominant vibration. The third key is listening to your body and intuition. Your body knows things your mind doesn't. When something is aligned for you, your body feels expansive, light, energized. When something is out of alignment, your body feels contracted, heavy, or tense. Learn to read these signals. When you're considering a decision, tune into your body. How does it feel? Not what do you think about it? How does it feel? Your body is receiving information from the universe constantly. It's picking up on subtle energies and possibilities that your rational mind can't process. I've learned to trust that when something feels heavy or forced, no matter how good it looks on paper, it's not aligned for me. And when something feels light and expansive, even if it seems risky or illogical, it usually leads somewhere important. The fourth key is taking inspired action, not desperate action. There's a huge difference between doing something because you feel guided and called to do it, versus doing something because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't. Inspired action feels exciting, even if it's scary. Desperate action feels exhausting and heavy. Inspired action comes from trust. Desperate action comes from fear. The universe responds very differently to these two types of energy. When you're aligned, action feels natural. You don't have to force yourself. You're pulled toward it. And often these inspired actions are the ones that lead to breakthrough moments and unexpected opportunities. Here's your daily practice for cultivating alignment with the universe. Every morning, spend 5 minutes in gratitude. Think of 3 specific things you're genuinely grateful for and let yourself really feel the appreciation. This sets your frequency for the day. Throughout the day, check in with your body. When you're making decisions or considering actions, pause and ask, does this feel aligned? Does this feel expansive or contracting? Trust what you sense. Every evening, reflect on moments of synchronicity or flow you experienced that day. Maybe someone mentioned exactly what you needed to hear. Maybe an unexpected solution appeared. Maybe you felt guided in a certain direction. Notice these moments. acknowledge them. This trains you to see the universe's guidance more clearly. Alignment with the universe is not a destination you reach. It's a practice you return to again and again. There will be times when you fall out of alignment, when you're caught up in fear or control or resistance. That's normal. That's human. The practice is noticing when you're out of alignment and consciously choosing to come back. Coming back to presence, coming back to gratitude, coming back to trust, coming back to listening instead of forcing. When you're aligned, the universal lock doesn't need to be forced open. It opens naturally, easily, inevitably, because you're no longer working against the mechanism, you're working with it. The universe is always on your side, always guiding you, always providing opportunities. Your job is simply to align yourself with its flow and allow yourself to be carried toward your highest potential. Stop fighting, start flowing, and watch what becomes possible. Chapter 9. Letting Go of the Old You. Here's a truth that most people don't want to hear. You cannot become who you're meant to be while clinging to who you've been. Growth requires death, not physical death, but the death of old identities, old patterns, old ways of being that no longer serve you. And most people resist this death with everything they have, even when the old version of themselves is miserable. Why? Because the known, even when painful, feels safer than the unknown. The familiar, even when limiting, feels more comfortable than the unfamiliar. Your current identity, even if it's holding you back, is what you know. It's what you're used to. It's who you've told yourself you are for years, maybe decades. Letting go of that identity feels like losing yourself, and in a way, you are. But what you're actually losing is the limited version of yourself, the version that was programmed by fear, shaped by limitation, and constrained by other people's expectations. What you're gaining is your true self, the infinite, powerful, unlimited being you were always meant to be. I need to tell you about one of the hardest periods of my life because it taught me everything about letting go. I had built an identity around being someone who struggled. I was the person who had it rough, who overcame adversity, who worked harder than everyone else just to get by. It was my story. It was who I told people I was. It was how I understood myself. Then I realized something devastating. This identity was keeping me stuck. I had become so attached to being the struggler that I was unconsciously sabotaging any opportunity that might change that story. Because if I became successful, if things became easy, who would I be? My entire identity was wrapped up in struggle and survival. Letting go of that identity was terrifying. It felt like I was losing the only version of myself I knew. But it was also the most liberating thing I've ever done. Because on the other side of that, death was a new identity, someone who flows, who creates, who thrives. Your old identity is made up of collected beliefs, patterns, and stories. Some of them you chose. Most of them were handed to you. And all of them served a purpose at some point. They kept you safe, helped you make sense of the world, gave you a sense of who you were. But what served you at 10 years old might not serve you at 40. What protected you in your past might be limiting you in your present. What helped you survive might be preventing you from thriving. This is why unlocking your infinite potential requires letting go of the old you. Not hating the old you. Not rejecting or condemning that version of yourself, but lovingly, gratefully releasing it because you've outgrown it. Think about it. A caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by being a better caterpillar. It has to completely dissolve in the cocoon. Everything it was has to break down before it can reform into something entirely new. That's not improvement. That's transformation. You're being called to transformation. But transformation requires you to let the old structure dissolve. So what does this actually look like in practice? What are you letting go of? You're letting go of limiting beliefs about who you are and what you're capable of. Beliefs like, I'm just not the kind of person who, or people like me don't. These beliefs created boundaries around your identity. They told you who you could and couldn't be. They're lies, but they've felt like truth because you've lived within them for so long. You're letting go of familiar patterns that keep you stuck. Maybe it's the pattern of self-sabotage, getting close to success and then doing something to undermine yourself. Maybe it's the pattern of staying in situations or relationships that don't serve you because leaving feels too uncertain. Maybe it's the pattern of playing small to avoid judgment or rejection. These patterns are comfortable. Your nervous system knows them. Your brain has traveled these neural pathways thousands of times. Changing them feels uncomfortable, awkward, even scary, but they're keeping you locked in place. You're letting go of attachments to how things have to look. Maybe you had a specific vision of what success means, what happiness looks like, what your life should be. These attachments often limit you more than you realize because they close you off to possibilities you never imagined. The universe might have something better in mind, but you can't receive it if you're gripping tightly to your predetermined picture. You're letting go of the need for validation from others. This is a big one. So many people stay stuck in old identities because those identities are how others know them. Changing feels like disappointing people, confusing them, or losing their approval. But you cannot live your life seeking validation from others and expect to unlock your full potential. Those are incompatible goals. Your growth will always be limited by other people's comfort levels unless you're willing to let go of needing their approval. And perhaps most importantly, you're letting go of the past itself, the grievances, the wounds, the stories of victimhood, not because they weren't real, not because what happened to you didn't matter, but because carrying them forward keeps you tethered to who you were instead of freeing you to become who you're meant to be. Letting go is not the same as forgetting. It's not pretending bad things didn't happen or that pain wasn't real. Letting go is choosing not to let those things define you anymore. It's releasing the emotional charge they hold over you. It's deciding that your past informs you but doesn't imprison you. Here's a powerful practice for letting go. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, take several deep breaths. Now, bring to mind one aspect of your old identity you're ready to release. Maybe it's a limiting belief, maybe it's a pattern, maybe it's a grudge or wound you've been carrying. Thank it, seriously. Thank it for how it served you, for what it taught you, for how it protected you when you needed protection. Then visualize yourself gently releasing it. See it dissolving or floating away or transforming into light. Feel the weight lifting from your body. Feel the space it leaves behind. Into that space, invite your new identity. Who are you becoming? What does the new you believe? How does the new you move through the world? Feel into this new version of yourself. Let it fill the space where the old identity was. This isn't just visualization. This is energetic transformation. You're literally releasing old patterns and installing new ones at the level of consciousness. Do this practice whenever you feel yourself being pulled back into old patterns, old stories, old ways of being. It's a gentle but powerful way of choosing your new identity again and again. Here's what I need you to understand. The old, you got you this far. Honor that. The struggles you've been through, the pain you've endured, the limitations you've lived within, they've all taught you something valuable. They've made you who you are today. But today is not forever. You're not meant to stay here. You're meant to grow, evolve, transform. And that means some version of you has to die so a new version can be born. Don't be afraid of this death. Don't cling to what no longer serves you just because it's familiar. Have the courage to let go. Have the faith to trust that what's on the other side of this release is better, bigger, more aligned with your infinite potential. The caterpillar has no idea it will become a butterfly. It just knows it's time to let go of being a caterpillar. That's all you need to know too. Let go, transform, become. Your infinite potential is waiting on the other side of release. Chapter 10, Manifestation in Action. We've arrived at the culmination of this act, taking everything you've learned and putting it into practice. Through conscious manifestation. Because understanding these principles is valuable, but applying them is where the magic happens. Manifestation has become a buzzword that's often misunderstood and oversimplified. People think it's about wishing, visualizing, and waiting for things to appear. But real manifestation, the kind that actually creates tangible results in your life, is far more sophisticated and practical than that. Manifestation is the natural outcome of aligned consciousness, combined with inspired action. It's what happens when your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and behaviors are all pointing in the same direction, all broadcasting the same frequency, all working together toward the same goal. Think of manifestation like building a house. You need a blueprint, your vision, materials, your energy and resources, skilled labor, your action, and the right conditions, alignment with universal laws. Miss any of these elements and the house either doesn't get built or it's not what you intended. Let me walk you through the complete manifestation process, not the fairy tale version, but the real, practical, proven method that actually works. Step 1 is getting crystal clear on what you want to manifest, not vague wishes like, I want to be happy or I want more money. Specific, detailed, compelling visions. What does happiness look like specifically? What does your ideal life feel like? What experiences do you want to have? The more specific you are, the more your subconscious can work with it. I want a fulfilling career is too vague. I want to build a business helping people overcome anxiety through coaching, earning enough to support my family while having time for what matters most. Gives your subconscious something concrete to work toward. Write this vision down in present tense, as if it's already real. Not I will have, but I have. Not I want to be, but I am. This tells your subconscious that this is your current reality, and your brain immediately begins working to close the gap between where you are and where your consciousness says you already are. Step 2 is feeling it real. This is where most people stumble. They visualize what they want, but from a place of lack, wishing they had it, hoping it will come, yearning for it. That frequency of lack is what they end up manifesting. More wanting, more hoping, more yearning. Instead, you need to embody the feeling of already having what you desire. How would you feel if this were already your reality? What would be different about how you move through your day? How would you carry yourself? What energy would you radiate? Spend time each day, even just 5 to 10 minutes, in this elevated emotional state, not thinking about your vision, but feeling it, not imagining having it someday, but experiencing it now in your consciousness. This is the vibrational frequency that attracts matching circumstances into your physical reality. Step 3 is identifying and releasing resistance. Even with a clear vision and the right emotional state, manifestation gets blocked when there's unconscious resistance. This usually shows up as conflicting beliefs. I want financial abundance, but I believe rich people are greedy, or I want a loving relationship, but I don't believe I'm worthy of unconditional love. These conflicts create static in your manifestation signal. You're broadcasting 2 different frequencies at once, and the universe doesn't know which one to respond to. Usually, it responds to the stronger one, which is typically the unconscious belief, because it's been there longer and has more emotional charge. Identifying resistance requires honest self-inquiry. Ask yourself, if I had what I want to manifest, what might I have to give up? What am I afraid might happen? What part of me doesn't believe this is possible? The answers reveal your resistance. Once you see it, you can work with the techniques we've already covered, reprogramming, releasing, choosing new beliefs to dissolve it. Step 4 is taking aligned action. This is crucial. Manifestation is not passive. It's not just sitting on your couch visualizing and waiting for the universe to deliver. Inspired action is the bridge between consciousness and physical reality. But here's the key. Aligned action feels different from desperate action. Desperate action comes from fear that if you don't make something happen, it won't happen. Aligned action comes from inspiration and inner guidance. It feels exciting even when it's challenging. It flows naturally from your elevated state. Pay attention to the nudges, the ideas that pop into your mind, the opportunities that present themselves. These are the universe showing you the next step. Take it, trust it, even when it doesn't make logical sense. Especially when it doesn't make logical sense, because the path to manifestation rarely looks like what you expect. Step 5 is practicing detachment from the outcome. This sounds contradictory. How can you be deeply focused on a vision while being detached from it? But this is essential. Attachment creates desperation. Desperation creates the energy of lack. Lack repels what you're trying to attract. Detachment allows you to hold your vision clearly, while trusting that the universe will deliver it in the best way and at the best time, which might be different from how and when you think it should happen. Detachment means you're not gripping so tightly to your specific picture that you miss better opportunities. It means you're not making your happiness conditional on the manifestation happening. It means you're already complete and fulfilled now, and the manifestation is an addition to your life, not a requirement for your worthiness or happiness. Step 6 is recognizing and celebrating evidence. As you practice manifestation, you'll start noticing signs that it's working. Small synchronicities, unexpected opportunities, people showing up with exactly what you need. Incremental progress toward your goal. Most people miss these signs because they're waiting for the big final manifestation, but the universe speaks in whispers before it shouts. Acknowledging these small evidences builds faith and momentum. It tells your subconscious, this is working, keep going. I manifested my current life using exactly this process. When I decided to leave my corporate career and build a business around teaching these principles, I had no idea how it would happen. I just knew it had to happen. I got clear on the vision, speaking to audiences, writing books, creating courses, helping people unlock their potential, earning abundant income, doing work I love. I felt it real every single day, the excitement, the fulfillment, the freedom. I identified my resistance. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, limiting beliefs about my worthiness. I released them through the practices we've covered. I took aligned action, starting small, saying yes to opportunities, showing up consistently even when I didn't see immediate results. I practiced detachment, trusting that it would unfold in the right way and timing. And I celebrated every small win, every person who resonated with my message, every small income increase, every opportunity that appeared. 3 years later, I'm living that vision, not because I got lucky, not because I'm special, because I followed this process with consistency and faith. Here's your manifestation practice for the next 30 days. Each morning, write your vision in present tense as if it's already happened. Spend 5 to 10 minutes feeling the emotions of living that reality. Throughout the day, notice inspired actions and take them without overthinking. Each evening, write down 3 pieces of evidence that you're moving toward your vision. Even tiny signs count. Do this every single day for 30 days. Not occasionally, not when you feel like it, every day. Because manifestation requires consistency. Your consciousness needs repetition to accept this new reality as true. And here's the most important part. Trust the process. You might not see dramatic changes immediately. You might not understand why certain things are happening or not happening. That's okay. The universe works in its own timing and its own ways. Your job is to maintain your vision, hold your frequency, take aligned action, and trust. Manifestation is not magic. It's not woo-woo. It's consciousness creating reality through focused intention and aligned action. It's you stepping into your role as a deliberate creator instead of a passive observer. You have infinite potential within you. Manifestation is how you bring that potential from the invisible realm of possibility into the visible realm of physical reality. Everything you've learned in this act, reprogramming your subconscious, building self-belief, aligning with the universe, letting go of the old you, it all comes together in manifestation. This is where theory becomes practice. This is where possibility becomes reality. This is where you prove to yourself that you truly are the creator of your own experience. The universal lock is open. Your infinite potential is available. Now it's time to consciously create the life you came here to live. Start manifesting, start creating, start becoming. Your future self is calling you forward. Answer the call. Chapter 11, Awakening the Quantum Field. We need to talk about something that's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about reality. Something that sounds like science fiction but is actually cutting-edge science. Something that ancient mystics understood intuitively and modern physicists are now proving mathematically. The quantum field. Stay with me here because this changes everything. When you understand the quantum field and how your consciousness interacts with it, you'll never see yourself or your potential the same way again. The quantum field is the invisible substrate of reality. It's the field of infinite possibility that exists beneath and within everything you can see, touch, and experience. Imagine it as an ocean of pure potential, containing every possible version of every possible reality, all existing simultaneously in a state of superposition, meaning they're all real and all available until consciousness collapses them into actual physical experience. This isn't mystical theory. This is quantum physics. Scientists have discovered that at the subatomic level, particles exist in multiple states at once until they're observed. The very act of observation, of consciousness paying attention, determines which possibility becomes reality. Let that sink in for a moment. Your consciousness doesn't just perceive reality. It literally participates in creating it at the most fundamental level. You are not a passive observer in a predetermined universe. You are an active participant in an infinite field of possibility. And your observation, your focus, your consciousness, these are the tools that pull specific possibilities from the quantum field into your lived experience. This is why two people can live in the same world and experience completely different realities. They're literally collapsing different possibilities from the field based on what they're focusing on, believing, and expecting. When I first learned about quantum mechanics and its implications for consciousness, my mind was blown. But more than that, it gave me a framework that made everything else make sense. The law of attraction wasn't just positive thinking, it was consciousness interacting with the quantum field. Manifestation wasn't magic, it was deliberately choosing which possibility to collapse into reality. Think about your life right now. Every circumstance you're experiencing is just one possibility that's been collapsed from the field. But in the quantum field, there exists a version of you who made different choices, who believed different things, who is experiencing a completely different reality. That version is just as real as this one. It's just existing in potential rather than in your current experience. Here's what's revolutionary. You can access those other possibilities. You can shift from one to another because you're not trapped in this one reality. You're swimming in an ocean of infinite realities, and you have the power to navigate between them. But here's what stops most people from doing this. They believe in the solidity of their current reality. They think what is must continue to be. They're so focused on what they're experiencing now that they can't imagine anything different. And that focus, that belief in the unchangeable nature of their circumstances, keeps them locked into collapsing the same possibilities over and over. The quantum field doesn't care about your past. It doesn't know about your limitations. It doesn't recognize your excuses. It simply responds to the frequency of your consciousness right now, which means that in any moment you can begin collapsing different possibilities into your experience. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you're struggling financially. In your current reality, you look at your bank account and see lack. You think about bills and feel stress. You consider your options and see limitations. Every time you do this, you're observing your reality from the perspective of lack, which causes the quantum field to continue collapsing possibilities that match that frequency. More lack, more stress, more limitation. But in the quantum field, there exists a reality where you are financially abundant, where opportunities flow to you easily, where money is not a source of stress but a tool for creation and contribution. That reality is just as real. It's just not the one you're currently observing and experiencing. To shift from the lack reality to the abundance reality, you have to change what you're observing, not in the external world, in your consciousness. You have to begin observing yourself as abundant before the physical evidence shows up. You have to collapse the abundance possibility with your consciousness before your bank account reflects it. This feels backwards to most people. They think the external has to change first, then their consciousness will change in response. But quantum physics tells us it works the opposite way. Consciousness comes first. Physical reality follows. Here's how you begin working with the quantum field consciously. First, understand that you are not separate from the field. You are in it, and it is in you. You're not trying to manipulate something outside yourself. You're recognizing that you are an expression of the field itself, with the power to choose which possibilities to actualize. Second, practice seeing your current reality as just one possibility, not the only possibility. When you look at your circumstances, remind yourself, this is one version of reality, but infinite other versions exist in the field. This loosens the grip of your current experience and opens you to other possibilities. Third, spend time each day consciously connecting with the field of infinite possibility. Close your eyes. Take deep breaths. Feel yourself dropping beneath the surface level of physical reality into the quantum realm. Imagine yourself surrounded by an infinite ocean of potential, with every possibility you could ever want existing right there, right now, in potential form. From this state, choose one specific possibility you want to collapse into your physical reality. See it clearly, feel it fully, not as something you're wishing for in the future, but as something that already exists in the field and is now being drawn into your experience through the power of your focused consciousness. Do this not as a desperate plea, but as a calm, confident act of selection. You're not begging the universe for something you don't have. You're simply choosing which of the infinite possibilities you want to experience. The same way you might choose a book from a vast library. The book was always there. You're just selecting it. Fourth, throughout your day, maintain the awareness that you're swimming in infinite possibility. When you encounter obstacles, remind yourself, in the quantum field, there's a reality where this is already solved. When you face challenges, remember, infinite solutions exist in the field right now. This isn't denial of your current reality. It's recognition of a deeper reality, the reality of infinite potential that underlies and creates your physical experience. Here's your quantum field practice. For the next 7 days, spend 10 minutes each morning in quantum field meditation. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in an infinite ocean of light, with each particle of light representing a different possibility. See the possibility you want to manifest glowing brighter than the others. drawing closer to you, being pulled from potential into form through the magnetic power of your focused consciousness. Feel yourself as the observer whose consciousness collapses possibility into reality. Don't beg, don't hope. Simply observe what you choose to experience and trust that the field must respond, because that's how consciousness and quantum reality interact. Throughout your day, whenever you catch yourself focused on limitation, pause and remind yourself, this is one possibility, but I choose to observe a different one. Then shift your attention to the reality you want to experience, even if just for a moment. That moment of shifted observation plants seeds in the quantum field. The quantum field is not somewhere else. It's here, now, all around you and within you. You've been interacting with it your entire life, mostly unconsciously, collapsing possibilities by default based on your habitual thoughts and beliefs. Now you're learning to interact with it consciously, deliberately, powerfully. You're awakening to your role as a quantum creator, someone who doesn't just react to reality, but actively participates in selecting which reality to experience. This is not wishful thinking. This is quantum mechanics applied to conscious creation. This is the bridge between ancient spiritual wisdom and modern scientific discovery. This is how infinite power works, not by fighting against reality, but by recognizing that reality is far more fluid, far more responsive to consciousness than you ever imagined. The quantum field is awakening within your awareness, and as it does, your power to create, to manifest, to transform your experience expands infinitely. You are a quantum creator. It's time to create consciously. Chapter 12. Shifting Timelines and Realities. Now that you understand the quantum field, we need to talk about something even more mind-bending, the fact that you're not locked into one timeline. You're not on a single predetermined path from past to future. You're actually navigating through infinite possible timelines in every moment, and you have far more control over which timeline you're experiencing than you've ever realized. This concept challenges our linear understanding of time and reality. We've been taught to think of life as a straight line, past behind us, present right here, future ahead of us. But quantum physics and consciousness research suggest something radically different. All moments, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously in the quantum field, and your consciousness is the navigator that determines which timeline you're experiencing. Think of it like this. Imagine infinite parallel tracks extending forward from this present moment. On one track, you continue with your current patterns and create a future that's similar to your past. On another track, you make a bold choice today that sets you on a completely different trajectory. On yet another track, you embrace a new belief about yourself that opens doors you couldn't see before. All of these timelines exist simultaneously as possibilities. Your consciousness determines which one becomes your lived experience. This is not science fiction. Every choice you make, every thought you think, every belief you hold is literally shifting you between possible timelines. The question is, are you shifting consciously or unconsciously? Most people stay stuck in one basic timeline because they keep making the same choices, thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, and taking the same actions. They're navigating by default, staying on the familiar track, even if it's not taking them where they want to go. But you can learn to navigate deliberately. You can consciously shift from a timeline of struggle to a timeline of ease, from a timeline of limitation to a timeline of abundance, from a timeline of confusion to a timeline of clarity and purpose. I experienced this firsthand in a powerful way. There was a period in my life where I felt completely stuck. I could see where my current path was leading, and I didn't like it, but I felt trapped, like the future was already determined by my past choices and current circumstances. Then I learned about timeline shifting. I realized that the future I was projecting, the one that felt inevitable, was just one possibility. It was the timeline I would experience if I kept thinking, believing, and acting the way I had been. But there were infinite other timelines available to me if I was willing to shift my consciousness. So I made a deliberate choice to shift. I stopped living from the past and started living from the future I wanted to experience. I began making choices not based on who I had been, but based on who I was becoming. I started thinking thoughts and feeling emotions that matched the timeline I wanted, not the timeline I was currently experiencing, and something remarkable happened. My external reality began to shift, not overnight, but undeniably. Opportunities appeared that didn't exist before. Solutions emerged to problems that had seemed insurmountable. Doors opened that I didn't even know were there. I had shifted timelines. I had navigated from one possibility to another through conscious choice. Here's how you can do the same. First, understand that the future is not set. Your past does not determine your future unless you let it. Every moment is a choice point where you can continue on your current timeline or shift to a different one. This awareness alone is empowering because it breaks the illusion of inevitability. Second, get clear on which timeline you want to experience, not vaguely, specifically. What does life look like on the timeline where you're living your highest potential? How do you feel? What are you doing? Who are you becoming? The clearer your vision of this preferred timeline, the easier it is to navigate toward it. Third, start making choices from the future timeline instead of from your past or present circumstances. This is key. Ask yourself throughout the day, what would the future version of me, the one living the timeline I desire, do in this situation? Then do that, even when it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar, especially then, because that discomfort is the sign that you're breaking patterns and shifting timelines. Fourth, embody the emotional frequency of your desired timeline now. Don't wait until circumstances change to feel successful, abundant, confident, or fulfilled. Feel those emotions now as if you're already living that timeline, because in the quantum field, you are. You're just learning to tune your consciousness to that frequency so it becomes your physical experience. This is where most people get tripped up. They try to think their way into a new timeline while continuing to feel the emotions of their current timeline. But emotion is a more powerful navigator than thought. Your emotional state is constantly signaling which timeline you're resonating with. Change your emotional state and you change your timeline. Fifth, watch for signs that you're shifting. As you consciously navigate toward a new timeline, you'll start noticing changes. Synchronicities increase. New opportunities appear. People show up with exactly what you need. Things that were stuck suddenly start moving. These aren't coincidences. They're evidence that you're successfully shifting to a different track of possibility. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine two versions of you waking up tomorrow morning. In timeline A, you wake up feeling stressed about your problems, thinking about everything that's wrong, replaying past failures, worrying about the future. You go through your day reacting to circumstances, feeling like a victim, making choices based on fear and limitation. In timeline B, you wake up feeling grateful for the opportunity of a new day, thinking about possibilities, focusing on what you're creating, trusting the process. You move through your day responding rather than reacting, feeling like a conscious creator, making choices based on your vision and values. Same person, same day, two completely different timelines, and the only difference is consciousness. The thoughts, emotions, and choices you're making moment by moment. Which timeline do you think leads to better outcomes? Which version of you do you think attracts better opportunities, better relationships, better experiences? You're shifting timelines constantly, mostly unconsciously. The goal is to become conscious of this process so you can deliberately navigate toward the timeline you actually want to experience. Here's your timeline shifting practice. Every morning for the next 30 days, take 5 minutes to do this visualization. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing at a crossroads. Behind you is the timeline of your past. Ahead of you are infinite possible timelines extending into the future. See the timeline you've been on, where it's heading if nothing changes. Then see the timeline you want to be on, your desired future self, living your highest potential. Feel yourself consciously stepping from the old timeline to the new one. Feel the shift in your body. Notice how the air feels different, how you stand differently, how the world looks different from this new timeline. Spend a few moments experiencing life from this new timeline as if it's already your reality. Then, throughout your day, make choices from this new timeline. When faced with decisions, ask, what would the me on the preferred timeline do? When feeling emotions, ask, what does the me on the preferred timeline feel? When thinking thoughts, ask, what does the me on the preferred timeline believe? You're not pretending, you're not faking it, you're consciously navigating. You're choosing which timeline to align with through your moment-to-moment consciousness. The most powerful thing about understanding timelines is this: you're not trying to change your current reality, you're shifting to a reality where what you desire already exists. You're not trying to become a different person. You're aligning with a version of yourself that already exists on a different timeline. This takes the pressure off. You're not creating something from nothing. You're not trying to force change. You're simply navigating from one possibility to another, from one timeline to another, through conscious choice and aligned action. You are not stuck. You are not trapped by your past or your current circumstances. You're at a choice point right now in this moment, with infinite timelines available to you. Which one will you choose? Where will you navigate? Who will you be? The power to shift timelines is not something you need to develop. It's something you need to recognize you already have. You've been using it all along, mostly unconsciously, staying on familiar timelines out of habit. Now you're learning to use it consciously, deliberately, powerfully. You're learning to navigate the infinite field of possibility with intention and awareness. Shift your consciousness. Shift your timeline. Shift your reality. The future you desire already exists. You just need to navigate to it. Chapter 13, Connecting to Source Energy. There's an energy that powers everything in existence. It's the force that makes your heart beat without you thinking about it. The intelligence that grows a seed into a tree. The power that holds galaxies together and drives the expansion of the universe. Ancient traditions called it different names: Chi, Prana, the divine, the Tao, God. Modern science might call it the unified field, or zero-point energy. I call it source energy. And connecting to it is the most powerful thing you can do as a conscious creator. Most people live their entire lives running on personal power, their own limited energy, willpower, and effort. They're like someone trying to power their house with a small battery when there's an infinite power grid available that they're not plugged into. They work hard, push themselves, and eventually burn out because they're trying to do everything through their own individual strength. But you weren't designed to create alone. You were designed to be a channel for source energy. Infinite, unlimited, always available power that flows through you when you open to it. The moment I truly understood this, everything changed. I had been exhausting myself trying to make things happen through sheer determination. I was successful by some measures, but I was burnt out, depleted, and starting to wonder if it was all worth it. I felt like I was carrying the weight of everything on my own shoulders. Then I had an experience that can only be described as connection to source. During a meditation, I felt myself drop into a state of profound peace and expansiveness. It wasn't that I disappeared, it was that I recognized myself as something much larger than my individual identity. I felt connected to everything, part of an infinite intelligence and power that was flowing through me and as me. In that state, I understood viscerally what I had only known intellectually. I am not separate from Source. I am an expression of it. And when I align with it, I have access to infinite creative power. Coming out of that meditation, I felt different, lighter, more energized, despite having done nothing physical. And in the days and weeks that followed, I noticed something remarkable. Things started flowing more easily. I got more done with less effort. Solutions appeared without me straining for them. My creativity exploded. I was accomplishing more while feeling more peaceful and less stressed. I wasn't working harder. I was working connected to Source. So how do you connect to this infinite power? How do you plug into the grid? The first step is recognizing that Source energy is not somewhere else. It's not external to you, something you need to reach for or earn. You are already in it, and it is already in you. Every breath you take is Source energy. Every thought you think is Source energy in motion. You're made of it. You're swimming in it. You are it expressed in physical form. The disconnection isn't real. It's perceptual. You feel disconnected because your awareness is focused on your separate self, your individual identity, your problems and limitations. But that's like being in the ocean and feeling thirsty because you're not aware you're surrounded by water. Reconnecting is simply a matter of shifting your awareness from your separate, limited self to your connected, infinite self, from personality to presence, from ego to essence. The simplest way to do this is through meditation, but not the kind where you're trying to achieve something or get somewhere. The kind where you're simply being present, open, and receptive, where you're letting go of all the doing and striving and just allowing yourself to rest in the presence of Source. Here's a practice I use daily. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Take several deep breaths, releasing tension with each exhale. Then, instead of focusing on anything specific, simply allow your awareness to expand. Feel yourself becoming more spacious, more open. Notice the space around your thoughts, the silence beneath the noise. As you rest in this expanded awareness, imagine a column of light descending from above your head, flowing through your body and connecting you to the earth below. This light is Source energy, infinite, loving, intelligent, powerful. Feel it flowing through you, not by forcing it, but by allowing it. You're not making this happen. You're simply opening to what's already here. Stay in this state for at least 10 minutes, just breathing, being present, and allowing yourself to be filled and surrounded by Source energy. Notice how you feel different, more peaceful, more centered, more energized, in a subtle but profound way. This is not just a nice meditation experience. This is you literally connecting to the infinite power, Source of the universe. And the more you do this practice, the more you'll be able to access this connection throughout your day, not just in meditation. When you're connected to Source, several things happen. Your intuition becomes stronger. You start receiving guidance, insights, and knowing that doesn't come from logical thinking. This is Source intelligence flowing through you, showing you the path forward. Your energy level increases. You feel less depleted by daily activities because you're drawing from an infinite well rather than a limited battery. You can do more with less effort because you're not doing it alone. Synchronicities multiply. The right people, opportunities, and resources show up at the right time because Source energy is orchestrating circumstances in ways your limited human perspective cannot. Your manifestations accelerate. When you're connected to Source, you're working with the creative power of the universe itself. Things that seemed impossible become possible. Things that would have taken years happen in months. or weeks, your peace deepens. Even in the midst of challenges, you feel an underlying calm because you know you're not alone, you're not separate, you're held and guided by something infinitely intelligent and loving. But here's what prevents most people from experiencing this connection: their busy minds and their attachment to control. They're so caught up in thinking, planning, worrying, and trying to manage everything that they can't hear the whisper of source guidance. They're so determined to make things happen their way that they block the flow of source energy that wants to work through them. Connecting to source requires surrender, not giving up, but letting go of the need to control everything and trusting that there's an intelligence far greater than your individual mind that knows the way forward. It requires stillness, not as a permanent state, but as a regular practice that allows you to disconnect from the noise and reconnect with the signal of source. It requires humility, not thinking less of yourself, but recognizing that your individual self is a wave in an infinite ocean, an expression of something much vaster, and it requires practice. Connection to source is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The more you deliberately tune into source energy through meditation and presence, the easier it becomes to access that connection in your daily life. Here's your source connection practice for the next 14 days. Every morning, spend at least 10 minutes in the source connection meditation I described. Make this non-negotiable. This is not selfish or indulgent. This is you plugging into your power source so you can serve from fullness instead of depletion. Throughout your day, pause regularly to reconnect. Take 3 conscious breaths and feel source energy flowing through you. You can do this anywhere, anytime. It takes 30 seconds and it realigns you with infinite power. Before taking important actions or making significant decisions, take a moment to connect with source and ask, what wants to emerge through me here? What is the highest path forward? Then listen. The answer might come as a feeling, a knowing, an image, or simply a sense of rightness about a certain direction. At night, before sleep, take a few moments to thank Source for the guidance, support, and energy you received that day. Gratitude strengthens your connection. You are not meant to navigate this journey alone. You are not meant to create through limited personal power. You are meant to be a channel for source energy, infinite, creative, intelligent, loving power expressing itself through you. Connect to source. Stay connected. Create from connection. This is how infinite power flows through a human life. This is how the impossible becomes possible. This is how you access the deepest truth of who you are. You are not separate from the power that creates worlds. You are an expression of it. Connect, remember, allow, and watch what flows through you. Chapter 14, Living in Divine Flow. There's a state of being that mystics, athletes, artists, and high performers throughout history have described. A state where effort dissolves, where time seems to expand or disappear, where everything falls into place with an almost magical synchronicity. Psychologists call it flow state. Spiritual traditions call it being in the Tao or moving with divine will. I call it living in divine flow, and once you experience it, you'll never want to live any other way. Divine flow is what happens when you're completely aligned with source energy, when your actions arise from connection rather than from effort, when you're moving with the current of the universe instead of swimming against it. In this state, life becomes effortless, not because everything is easy, but because you're no longer creating unnecessary resistance. Most people live in constant resistance. They resist what is, wanting circumstances to be different. They resist their emotions, pushing away discomfort. They resist the natural timing of things, trying to force outcomes. They resist uncertainty, needing to know and control everything. All of this resistance creates friction, tension, and exhaustion. Divine flow is the opposite. It's complete allowance, complete trust, complete presence with what is, while simultaneously holding the vision of what's becoming. It's the perfect balance between surrender and creation, between being and doing. I used to think success required struggle. I thought I had to push, force, and fight for everything I wanted. And I did achieve things that way, but it was exhausting. Every accomplishment felt like a battle won rather than a natural unfolding. I was constantly stressed, always worried that if I stopped pushing, everything would fall apart. Then I discovered flow, not through trying to achieve it, but through stopping all the trying, through releasing resistance and trusting the process, through surrendering my tight grip on how things had to happen and allowing them to unfold naturally. The first time I experienced true divine flow, I was working on a project that had been stuck for months. I had been trying to force it, strategize it, make it happen through sheer determination. Nothing was working. Then one day, exhausted from the struggle, I just let go. I stopped trying to control it. I released my attachment to the outcome. I surrendered to whatever was meant to happen. And in that space of surrender, inspiration flooded in. Ideas came effortlessly. Connections happened spontaneously. Within 2 weeks, the project that had been stuck for months completed itself through a series of synchronistic events I couldn't have planned if I tried. That's divine flow, and it's available to you whenever you stop resisting and start allowing. So how do you enter this state? How do you live in flow rather than in friction? The first key is presence. Flow only exists in the present moment. When you're lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future, you're out of flow. When you're fully here, fully now, fully engaged with what is, you're in flow. Practice bringing yourself back to now throughout your day. Feel your breath. Notice your surroundings. Drop out of your head and into your senses. Presence is the doorway to flow. The second key is acceptance of what is. This doesn't mean resigning yourself to circumstances you don't want. It means stopping the internal argument with reality. Whatever is happening right now is already happening. Resisting it doesn't change it. It just creates suffering and blocks your ability to respond effectively. When you fully accept what is, you free up enormous energy that was being wasted in resistance. That energy becomes available for creative response, for inspired action, for moving forward in alignment with what wants to emerge. The third key is following your excitement. In divine flow, action arises naturally from inspiration rather than from obligation. You're drawn toward certain actions because they feel right, because they light you up, because they're aligned with your deeper knowing. Pay attention to what excites you, what intrigues you, what you feel called toward, even if it doesn't make logical sense. These are breadcrumbs from the universe showing you the path of least resistance, the way forward that will unfold with grace rather than struggle. The fourth key is releasing attachment to specific outcomes. You can hold a clear vision while remaining unattached to exactly how it manifests. In flow, you trust that the universe might have a better plan than what your limited human perspective can conceive. When you're rigidly attached to how things must unfold, you resist any path that doesn't match your plan, even if that path leads somewhere better. Loosen your grip. Hold your vision lightly. Allow the universe to surprise you. The fifth key is moving with divine timing rather than forcing human timing. Everything has a natural rhythm, a perfect timing for its emergence. Seeds don't grow faster by pulling on the shoots. Rivers don't flow faster by pushing the water. And your desires don't manifest faster by anxiously forcing action. There's a time for planting and a time for harvesting, a time for action and a time for rest, a time for pushing forward and a time for patient waiting. Flow means being sensitive to these natural rhythms and moving in harmony with them. In practical terms, this means sometimes you'll feel inspired to take massive action. do it. Other times you'll feel pulled to rest, to wait, to allow things to develop. Honor that too. Both are part of flow, not just the doing, but the spaces between doing. The sixth key is trusting the process. Flow requires faith that you're being guided, that the universe has your back, that everything is unfolding for your highest good, even when you can't see the whole picture. This doesn't mean being passive or naive. It means taking inspired action while trusting that the outcome will be right, even if different from what you expected. It means knowing that detours and delays are often redirections toward something better. Let me give you a powerful practice for entering and maintaining divine flow. Each morning, set an intention to move in flow throughout your day. Say to yourself, "Today I allow life to flow through me with ease and grace. I am open to guidance. I release resistance. I trust the process." Throughout your day, check in with yourself regularly. Notice when you're in resistance, when you're pushing, forcing, struggling, or fighting reality. In those moments, pause. Take 3 breaths. Ask yourself, where can I release resistance right now? What would flow look like in this situation? Then soften, allow, and trust. Notice when you're in flow, when things are unfolding easily, when you feel energized rather than depleted, when synchronicities are happening. Acknowledge these moments, appreciate them. This trains your consciousness to recognize and return to flow more readily. At the end of each day, reflect on moments of flow and moments of resistance. This builds awareness and helps you recognize the subtle difference between the two, so you can choose flow more consistently. Living in divine flow doesn't mean you never face challenges or that everything is always easy. It means you're no longer creating unnecessary difficulty through resistance. It means you're navigating challenges with grace rather than struggling against them with force. In flow, you're like water, adapting to the shape of the container, finding the path of least resistance, yet powerful enough to carve canyons over time. You're soft, yet strong, flexible, yet purposeful, effortless, yet effective. This is how you were meant to live, not in constant struggle and strain, but in alignment with the natural rhythms of the universe, not forcing outcomes through willpower, but allowing solutions to emerge through trust and presence. Divine flow is your natural state when you remove resistance. It's not something you achieve, it's something you allow. Stop trying so hard. Start trusting more deeply. Let go of control. Embrace the mystery. Flow is calling you. Will you answer? Will you release your grip and allow yourself to be carried by the current of divine intelligence that knows exactly where you're meant to go? The struggle ends when you stop resisting. The flow begins when you start trusting. Surrender to the flow. Move with it. Become it. This is where infinite power expresses itself most beautifully, not through force, but through grace. Chapter 15, Unlocking Your Infinite Purpose. We've come to the heart of everything. All the techniques, all the practices, all the understanding you've gained has been leading to this moment, because none of it means anything if it's not in service of your deepest purpose. The reason your soul chose to be here in this body, at this time, in this world. Your purpose is not something you create. It's something you remember. It's something you unlock. It's been there all along, encoded in your consciousness, waiting for you to recognize it. And when you do, when you finally align with your infinite purpose, everything clicks into place. All the scattered pieces of your life suddenly make sense. The challenges you faced become clear as preparation. The gifts you have become tools for contribution. The desires you hold become guideposts, pointing toward your purpose. Let me be very clear about something. Your purpose is not your job title. It's not a specific role or career. It's much bigger and more fundamental than that. Your purpose is the unique frequency of consciousness you came here to express, the particular way you're meant to contribute to the evolution of human consciousness and the healing of our world. Some people express their purpose through art, others through teaching, healing, building, nurturing, innovating, or leading. The form doesn't matter as much as the essence, the unique gift of your being that only you can offer in exactly the way you offer it. I spent years confused about my purpose. I tried on different identities, pursued different paths, achieved different things, but nothing felt quite right. There was always a sense of something missing, a whisper saying, "This isn't it, there's more." Then I realized I was looking for purpose outside myself, in roles, achievements, or other people's validation. But purpose isn't found out there. It's discovered within. It emerges when you stop trying to be someone you're not and start expressing who you actually are at the deepest level. My purpose revealed itself not through seeking, but through being, through finally allowing myself to express what wanted to come through me, without filtering it, editing it, or making it acceptable to others, through trusting that my unique perspective, gifts, and passions were not random, but were precisely calibrated to my purpose. When I aligned with that purpose, when I started creating and contributing from that authentic place, everything changed. Work stopped feeling like work. Success stopped being about external validation and became about internal alignment. I stopped feeling depleted at the end of the day and started feeling energized because I was living in purpose. This is what purpose does. It transforms everything. Not because your circumstances necessarily change, but because you're finally doing what you came here to do. You're expressing your infinite power in service of something greater than your individual desires. So how do you discover or unlock your purpose? Let me guide you through this. First, understand that your purpose is connected to what you love. Not guilty pleasures or distractions, but what genuinely lights you up, what you could do for hours without tiring, what makes you feel most alive and most yourself. Your joy is not frivolous. It's a compass pointing toward your purpose. What did you love as a child before the world told you what you should love? What do you lose track of time doing? What would you do even if no one paid you or praised you? These questions reveal clues about your purpose. Second, your purpose is connected to your gifts. You have unique talents, perspectives, and abilities that come naturally to you. Often these feel so natural that you discount them. Doesn't everyone think this way? Can't everyone do this? No. What's easy for you might be difficult for others. Your gifts are not accidents. They're tools for your purpose. What do people consistently come to you for? What problems do you solve naturally? What perspectives do you offer that help others see things differently? Your gifts are breadcrumbs leading to your purpose. Third, your purpose is connected to what breaks your heart. What injustice or suffering in the world moves you deeply? What do you wish was different? What problems do you feel called to help solve? Your compassion is not weakness. It's a signal pointing toward where your purpose wants to be expressed. The things that break your heart are often the things you're meant to help heal, whether on a small scale in individual lives or on a large scale in the world. Fourth, your purpose evolves and expands. It's not a single thing you do for your entire life. It's an essence you express through many forms as you grow and evolve. A woman might express her purpose through mothering her children, then through starting a business, then through mentoring others, then through creating art. Different forms, same essence. Don't limit your purpose to one narrow definition. Allow it to be dynamic, to grow, to surprise you with new expressions as you evolve. Now, let me give you a powerful practice for unlocking your purpose. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and take several deep breaths, dropping into a meditative state. From this relaxed, open state, ask yourself these questions and listen for the answers that arise, not from your thinking mind, but from deeper within. What did I come here to give? Listen, feel, notice what emerges. What wants to be expressed through me? Listen, feel, notice. How am I uniquely designed to contribute to the healing and evolution of consciousness? Listen, feel, notice. Don't force answers. Don't make something up. Just ask and remain open. The answers might come as words, images, feelings, or simply a knowing. Trust whatever emerges. After this meditation, write a purpose statement. Not a perfect, polished statement, but a draft that captures the essence of what you sensed. It might be something like, my purpose is to help people remember their infinite nature through creative expression. Or, my purpose is to build systems that allow human potential to flourish. Or, my purpose is to hold space for transformation and healing. Your statement doesn't have to be elaborate, it just needs to resonate deeply as true. You'll know it's right when reading it makes your heart expand, when it feels like remembering rather than deciding. Once you have clarity on your purpose, even if it's still evolving, the most important step is to begin living it. Not someday when you're ready or when circumstances are perfect. Now, today, in whatever small ways you can. If your purpose involves teaching, start teaching someone something today. If it involves creating, create something today. If it involves healing, offer healing to someone today. Don't wait for the perfect platform or opportunity. Start expressing your purpose wherever you are with whatever you have. This is crucial. Purpose fulfilled is purpose expanded. The more you live your purpose, even in small ways, the more clearly it reveals itself, and the more opportunities appear for greater expression. Your purpose is the key that unlocks your infinite power completely, because when you're aligned with why you're here, the universe moves mountains to support you. Doors open, resources appear, the right people show up, synchronicities multiply, not because you're special or favored, but because you're finally moving in alignment with the deepest current of your being. And that alignment creates a resonance with source energy that makes miracles natural. Living your purpose doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or that everything will be easy. It means that challenges become meaningful, obstacles become opportunities for growth, and even difficult moments feel purposeful rather than pointless. You weren't born by accident. You weren't given your unique gifts randomly. You weren't planted in this time and place without reason. You have a purpose, a vital, important, irreplaceable purpose that only you can fulfill. The universal lock has been opening throughout this journey. Now, with purpose as your guide, it swings fully open, infinite. Power is not just something you access for personal gain. It's something that flows through you in service of your purpose. This is the ultimate expression of consciousness, recognizing your infinite nature and using that infinite power to contribute to something greater than yourself. Your purpose is calling. It's been calling all along. Will you finally answer? Will you step fully into why you're here? Write your purpose statement today. Take one action today that expresses it, and then tomorrow, do it again. And again, until living your purpose becomes as natural as breathing. This is your destiny. This is your path. This is what you've been unlocking all along. The universal lock is open. Your infinite power is activated. Your purpose is clear. Now go, live it, express it, be it. The world is waiting for what only you can give. Chapter 16, Becoming the Creator of Your Own Reality. You've arrived at a threshold. Everything you've learned, every practice you've engaged with, every shift in consciousness you've experienced, it's all been preparing you for this moment, the moment when you finally fully claim your role as the creator of your own reality. Not the victim of circumstances, not the product of your past, not a leaf blown by the winds of fate. the creator, the architect, the author of your life. This is not arrogance, this is truth. And accepting this truth is both the most empowering and the most challenging thing you'll ever do. Because here's what it means. If you are the creator of your reality, then everything in your life, everything is here because of you. Not because you consciously desired it, but because some part of your consciousness created it, allowed it, or attracted it. Your beliefs created it. Your thoughts shaped it. Your emotions magnetized it. Your actions manifested it. This realization can feel uncomfortable at first. Your mind might immediately protest, but I didn't create that trauma. I didn't want that loss. I didn't ask for those struggles. And you're right, consciously, you didn't. But your consciousness is far vaster than your conscious mind. Your subconscious beliefs, your energetic frequency, your unhealed wounds, your unconscious patterns, these have been creating your reality all along. The question is not whether you're creating your reality. You are. You always have been. The question is, will you create consciously or unconsciously, by design or by default? Most people create by default. They inherited beliefs from their parents and culture. They developed patterns based on past experiences. They formed an identity based on who they were told they were. And then they unconsciously create a reality that reflects all of that programming, wondering why life keeps giving them the same results. But you're not most people. You've done the work. You've awakened to your power. Now it's time to own it completely. Taking full responsibility for your reality doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that's happened. It means recognizing that you have the power to shape what happens next. It means understanding that even when you can't control external circumstances, you always control your response, your interpretation, your focus, and your next move. This is where true power lives, not in controlling everything around you, but in mastering everything within you. I remember the day I truly claimed this role as creator. I had been oscillating between feeling powerful and feeling victimized, depending on what was happening in my life. When things went well, I felt like a conscious creator. When things went poorly, I felt like life was happening to me. Then I realized both perspectives couldn't be true. Either I was creating my reality or I wasn't. Either I had power or I didn't. I couldn't be a creator only when it was convenient. So I made a choice, a declaration really. I decided that from that moment forward, I would view everything that happened as something I had attracted, allowed, or created through my consciousness, even when I couldn't see how, even when it seemed like it came from outside of me. This decision changed everything, because once I stopped viewing myself as a victim of circumstances, I stopped being powerless. When challenges arose, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" I started asking, "What is this showing me? What am I meant to learn? How is my consciousness creating this, and what needs to shift?" These questions transform you from victim to creator, from powerless to powerful, from stuck to sovereign. Being a conscious creator means several things. First, it means monitoring and directing your thoughts. Your thoughts are the seeds of your reality. Every thought you think is casting a vote for the reality you'll experience. Most people think unconsciously, letting random thoughts run wild in their minds. You must think deliberately, choosing thoughts that align with the reality you want to create. Second, it means managing your emotional state. Your emotions are the creative power behind your thoughts. A thought without emotion is weak. A thought charged with emotion is powerful. You must cultivate emotions that match your desired reality: gratitude, joy, peace, confidence, love, rather than defaulting to fear, worry, and doubt. Third, it means taking aligned action. Creation happens through consciousness, but it expresses through action. You must act as the person who already has what you desire. Make choices from your future self, not your current circumstances. Let your actions demonstrate your beliefs rather than contradict them. Fourth, it means accepting feedback without making it mean something about your worth. When something doesn't work out as planned, a creator doesn't collapse into, "I'm a failure." A creator asks, "What information is this giving me? What adjustment is needed?" You learn, adapt, and create anew. Fifth, it means releasing the need to control how things unfold. You create the what, the vision, the intention, the desired outcome, but you allow the universe to handle the how. Trying to control every detail is the ego's attempt to stay safe. Trust is the creator's path to expansion. Here's your daily practice for conscious creation. Every morning, write in a journal, "Today I am the conscious creator of my reality. I choose to experience." And complete that sentence with specific qualities, feelings, or outcomes you're creating, not wishing for, creating. Feel the difference in that language. Throughout your day, catch yourself whenever you slip into victim language. "I have to," "I can't," "they made me," "this always happens to me." Stop. Rephrase in creator language. "I choose to," "I'm learning how to," "I allowed," "I'm creating a different pattern now." Each evening, review your day through the lens of a creator. What did you create today? What patterns did you perpetuate or break? What evidence did you see of your creative power? What will you create tomorrow? This practice builds the consciousness of a creator, and consciousness precedes reality. Become the creator in your awareness, and you'll see it reflected in your experience. Let me be very clear about something. Being the creator of your reality doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or that you can control every external circumstance. It means you recognize that you always have choice in how you respond, what meaning you assign, and what you create next. A tree doesn't control the wind, but it chooses how to bend. A surfer doesn't control the waves, but chooses which ones to ride and how. A creator doesn't control all circumstances, but chooses what to focus on, what to believe, and what to create from any situation. This is your birthright. This is your truth. This is your power. You are not a victim of your genes, your past, your circumstances, or your conditions. You are a conscious creator capable of shaping your experience through the power of your awareness, your beliefs, your emotions, and your actions. The universal lock has been opening throughout this journey, but the final tumbler falls into place when you fully accept this identity. I am the creator of my reality, not someday, not when you're more evolved or more spiritual or more healed. Right now, today, in this moment, say it. I am the creator of my reality. Feel it, the power, the responsibility, the freedom that comes with that truth. Live it, make choices, think thoughts, feel emotions, and take actions that demonstrate your role as creator. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning, because now you're no longer sleepwalking through life, unconsciously creating by default. You're awake, you're aware, you're consciously creating by design. The canvas is blank. The tools are in your hands. The power is in your consciousness. What will you create? Chapter 17, Mastering the Power of Now. Here's a truth that might surprise you. The future doesn't exist. Neither does the past. The only thing that actually exists is this moment. Right now. This eternal present moment that you're experiencing as you hear these words. Everything else, every memory of the past, every projection of the future, exists only as thoughts in the present moment. The past is a story you're telling yourself now. The future is an imagination you're having now. Only now is real. Only now has power. Only now can you create. This is why mastering the present moment is the ultimate skill of a conscious creator, because the present moment is the only point at which you can actually exercise your creative power. Think about it. You can't change anything in the past. It's done. You can't do anything in the future. It hasn't happened yet. You can only ever act, choose, think, and create in the present moment, right here, right now. Yet most people spend almost no time actually present. They're lost in thoughts about the past, regrets, resentments, nostalgia, analyzing what went wrong. Or they're lost in thoughts about the future, worries, plans, fantasies, anxiety about what might happen. Meanwhile, the present moment, the only moment in which life is actually happening, the only moment in which they have any power, passes by unnoticed and unused. I used to live this way. My mind was constantly somewhere else, planning tomorrow while missing today, worrying about the future while wasting the present, replaying the past while failing to create new experiences in the now. Then I learned something that changed everything. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your presence, not the circumstances you're in, but how present you are with those circumstances. Not what's happening, but how aware you are of what's happening. Two people can have the same experience, eating a meal, walking in nature, having a conversation, and one person barely registers it because their mind is elsewhere, while the other person is fully present and has a rich, vivid, meaningful experience. Same external circumstances, completely different internal experience. The difference is presence, but presence isn't just about enjoying life more fully, though that alone would be reason enough to cultivate it. Presence is also the key to manifestation. Here's why. When you're present, you're in direct contact with reality as it actually is. You can see clearly. You can feel your intuition. You can sense what action wants to be taken. You can notice opportunities. You can respond appropriately. When you're lost in past or future, you're disconnected from reality. You're operating from memory or imagination rather than from what's actually here. You miss signs. You ignore guidance. You make decisions based on fear or outdated information rather than on present moment wisdom. Moreover, the present moment is where your point of power is. Every visualization, every affirmation, every manifestation technique works because it brings the future into the present moment in your consciousness. You're not trying to create in some distant future. You're creating now by aligning your present moment consciousness with what you desire. The universe responds to what you are right now, not what you were or what you hope to be. Your present moment state of consciousness is broadcasting a signal right now. That signal is either aligned with what you want to create or it's not. You can only adjust that signal in the present moment. So how do you master the power of now? How do you become more present? The first key is awareness of awareness. Notice that you're aware. Notice that there's a part of you that can observe your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations. That observer, that awareness, exists only in the present moment. When you recognize yourself as that awareness rather than as your thoughts, you naturally become more present. The second key is using your senses. Your senses operate only in the present moment. You can't hear yesterday's sounds or see tomorrow's sights. When you bring attention to what you're seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, or tasting right now, you're pulled immediately into presence. The third key is focusing on your breath. Your breath is always happening now. Following your breath, feeling the sensation of air moving in and out, is a simple but powerful anchor to the present moment. This is why so many meditation traditions use breath as the foundation of practice. The fourth key is accepting what is. Resistance to the present moment keeps you trapped in mental arguments with reality. This shouldn't be happening. I wish it were different. If only things were like they used to be. These thoughts pull you out of presence into fantasy or memory. Acceptance allows you to be fully here with what is, which paradoxically gives you more power to change it. The fifth key is single tasking instead of multitasking. Give your full attention to one thing at a time. When you're eating, just eat. When you're walking, just walk. When you're with someone, be fully with them. This cultivates a quality of presence that permeates your entire life. Here's your practice for mastering the power of now. Set an intention each morning. Today, I will be present. Then set reminders throughout your day, alarms on your phone, notes in your environment, or simply the commitment to check in with yourself regularly. Several times throughout your day, pause and do this quick presence practice. Take 3 conscious breaths. Feel your body. Notice 5 things you can see. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel the sensation of your feet on the ground. Ask yourself, am I here? Am I now? This simple practice, repeated throughout the day, trains presence. Practice single-pointed focus for at least one activity each day. Choose something, making tea, taking a shower, doing a task, and give it your complete, undivided attention. Notice how much richer the experience becomes when you're fully present with it. At night, before sleep, review your day. When were you most present? When were you most lost in thought? What did you notice when you were present that you might have missed otherwise? This reflection strengthens your capacity for presence. The more present you become, the more you'll notice something remarkable. Life becomes more vivid, more meaningful, more magical. Colors seem brighter. Conversations become deeper. Simple moments contain profound beauty. This isn't because life changed. It's because you're actually here to experience it, and your creative power multiplies, because you're no longer scattering your energy across past and future. You're bringing all of your power into this moment, and this moment is where creation happens. The future you desire doesn't exist in some distant tomorrow. It exists as a seed in this present moment. Plant that seed now through your present moment consciousness. Tend it now through your present moment choices. Watch it grow now through your present moment awareness. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow isn't here, but now, this eternal now, is full of infinite possibility and power. Be here, be now. This is where your life is happening. This is where your power lives. This is the only moment you can actually create. Master the now, and you master your reality. Chapter 18, The Power of Unconditional Love. We need to talk about the most powerful force in the universe. Not willpower, not visualization, not positive thinking, love. Specifically, unconditional love, love without conditions, expectations, or requirements. Love is not just an emotion. It's the fundamental frequency of the universe itself. It's the creative force that holds atoms together, that drives evolution, that connects all consciousness. And when you learn to embody unconditional love for yourself and for all of life, you unlock a level of creative power that transcends everything we've discussed so far. This might sound overly spiritual or abstract, but I'm talking about something very practical and very real. Love is a high-frequency state of being. When you're in genuine love, not need, not attachment, but pure love, your vibrational frequency rises to a level that naturally aligns with abundance, health, joy, and manifestation. Think about the times in your life when you felt true love. Maybe holding a newborn baby, maybe in the presence of natural beauty, maybe in a moment of deep connection with another person. In those moments, didn't everything feel possible? Didn't problems seem smaller? Didn't you feel more open, more alive, more yourself? That's the power of love. It doesn't just make you feel good. It literally changes your state of consciousness, which changes what you're able to perceive and create. But here's what most people don't understand. The most important love, the one that changes everything, is the love you have for yourself. I'm not talking about narcissism or ego inflation. I'm talking about genuine self-love. Accepting yourself completely, treating yourself with kindness and compassion, honoring your worth not because of what you do, but because of what you are. a divine expression of consciousness in physical form. Most people treat themselves with harsh criticism, constant judgment, and conditional acceptance. I'll love myself when I lose weight, when I make more money, when I accomplish this goal. But conditional love is not love at all. It's self-rejection with requirements for parole. I spent years living this way. I had compassion for others but was merciless with myself. I could forgive others their mistakes but never forgave my own. I could see the divine in others but only saw flaws in myself. This internal rejection created a low-frequency state that blocked everything I was trying to manifest. Because how can you attract love if you don't love yourself? How can you receive abundance if you don't feel worthy? How can you express your gifts fully if you're constantly judging and criticizing yourself? Everything shifted when I learned to love myself unconditionally. Not in a future state when I was perfect, but now as I am, with all my flaws and imperfections. That simple shift in how I related to myself changed my entire reality. Opportunities appeared that I hadn't seen before. Relationships improved because I was no longer seeking from others what I couldn't give myself. My creative expression flowed more freely because I wasn't filtering everything through self-judgment. My manifestations accelerated because I finally felt worthy of receiving what I desired. Self-love is not selfish, it's essential. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot love others fully if you don't love yourself. You cannot create abundance from a state of self-rejection. Here's how to cultivate unconditional love for yourself. First, practice treating yourself the way you would treat someone you deeply love. When you make a mistake, speak to yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a dear friend. When you're struggling, give yourself the same compassion you'd give to a child. When you succeed, celebrate yourself with the same enthusiasm you'd show for someone you care about. Second, focus on appreciation rather than criticism. Your mind has been trained to notice what's wrong with you. Retrain it to notice what's right. Each day, find at least 3 things you appreciate about yourself. Qualities, actions, efforts, anything. This builds a foundation of self-love through consistent appreciation. Third, meet your own needs without waiting for others to meet them. Need comfort? Comfort yourself. Need encouragement? Encourage yourself. Need celebration? Celebrate yourself. This isn't about becoming independent of all connection. It's about not being dependent on others for your emotional well-being. Fourth, forgive yourself. Completely, for everything. Every mistake, every failure, every time you fell short. Forgiveness doesn't mean what you did was okay. It means you're releasing the heavy burden of self-condemnation and choosing freedom instead. But self-love is only half of the equation. The other half is extending unconditional love outward, to others, to life, to all of existence. This doesn't mean being a doormat or allowing people to mistreat you. Love doesn't mean no boundaries. It means seeing the divine essence in all beings, even when their behavior doesn't reflect it. It means wishing well for all, even those who've hurt you. It means recognizing that we're all connected, all expressions of the same consciousness in different forms. When you live from this place of love for yourself and for all life, something extraordinary happens. You stop needing things to go a certain way for you to be okay. You stop needing other people to change for you to feel peace. You stop needing validation because your worth comes from within. And from this state of non-neediness, everything you desire flows to you more easily because you're no longer repelling it with the energy of desperation or lack. You're attracting from fullness, from wholeness, from love. Here's your love practice. Every morning, look at yourself in a mirror, directly in your own eyes, and say, I love you. I completely and unconditionally love you. Do this especially if it feels uncomfortable or fake at first. Your subconscious is listening and gradually accepting this new program. Throughout your day, Practice random acts of self-love. Speak kindly to yourself. Choose foods that honor your body. Take breaks when you need them. Do one thing purely because it brings you joy. Each evening send love to 5 people, including people who've hurt you or who you're in conflict with. You don't have to like them or approve of their behavior. Just send the intention. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free. This practice dissolves resentment and raises your frequency. Once a week, do something that's pure self-love. A bath, a walk in nature, creative expression, whatever feels nurturing to you. Make it non-negotiable. Love is not weakness. It's the highest form of power. Love doesn't make you vulnerable to harm. It makes you invulnerable because your worth, your peace, and your joy come from within rather than from external circumstances. When you embody unconditional love for yourself and for life, the universal lock doesn't just open, it dissolves. Because you realize there was never really a lock. There was only the illusion of separation, of unworthiness, of conditional acceptance. Love is the key. Love is the lock. Love is the door. Love is the infinite power you've been seeking. Stop waiting to love yourself when you're perfect. You'll never be perfect, and that's perfectly okay. You're worthy of love right now, exactly as you are. Love yourself fiercely. Love others freely. Love life fully. This is the frequency of infinite creation. This is the vibration of miracles. This is love. And love changes everything. Chapter 19, Living Beyond Limits. Everything we've covered in this journey has been dismantling the illusion of limitation. Every practice, every realization, every shift in consciousness has been breaking down the walls that confined you. Now it's time to step fully into the truth. You are limitless, not potentially limitless, not limitless someday when you've done more work or become more evolved. Limitless right now, because the limits you've been experiencing were never real. They were beliefs, perceptions, agreements with a limited view of reality. Let me say this as clearly as possible. You are not bound by time, space, or circumstances. You are consciousness expressed in physical form, and consciousness has no limits except the ones it believes in. The boundaries you've experienced, I can't do that. I'm too old. I'm not smart enough. People like me don't achieve that. These are not facts about reality. They're stories you've been told and accepted as true. And every story can be rewritten. Every belief can be changed. Every limit can be transcended. I know this might sound extreme or even delusional. Your logical mind will offer plenty of evidence for why you are, in fact, limited. But I'm asking you to consider, what if that evidence is just a reflection of the limits you've believed in? What if you've been creating evidence for your limitations instead of creating evidence for your infinite potential? The universe doesn't limit you. Life doesn't limit you. The quantum field doesn't limit you. Only your consciousness limits you, through the beliefs you hold and the perceptions you maintain. Think about the people throughout history who've done things that everyone said were impossible. Flying, breaking the 4-minute mile, climbing Everest, curing diseases, creating technologies that seemed like magic. They weren't superhuman. They just refused to accept the limits that others believed in. And in refusing to accept those limits, they proved that the limits weren't real. They were just collective agreements about what was possible. Agreements that could be broken by anyone willing to believe something different. You have that same power, the power to reject limitations that others accept, the power to believe in possibilities that others can't see, the power to create realities that others insist are impossible. But living beyond limits isn't just about achieving big goals or breaking records. It's about fundamentally changing how you relate to life. It's about recognizing that every day, in small ways and large, you have opportunities to either reinforce your limits or transcend them. Every time you say, "I can't," you reinforce a limit. Every time you say, "I'm learning how," you transcend it. Every time you let fear stop you, you reinforce a limit. Every time you act despite fear, you transcend it. Every time you believe, "This is just how I am," you reinforce a limit. Every time you recognize, "I'm always evolving," you transcend it. Living beyond limits requires you to question everything you think you know about yourself and reality. It requires you to be willing to try things you're not sure you can do. It requires you to be comfortable with uncertainty and uncomfortable experiences. Most people stay within their limits not because the limits are real, but because staying within limits feels safe. The known, even when constraining, feels safer than the unknown. But safety is not where growth happens. Safety is not where breakthroughs occur. Safety is not where you discover your infinite potential. Here's what I learned. The discomfort you feel when approaching a limit is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you're at the edge of your current comfort zone, about to expand into new territory. That discomfort is growth itself. When you were a child learning to walk, you fell constantly. Falling was uncomfortable, even painful sometimes. But you didn't interpret it as evidence that walking was impossible. You just kept trying until walking became natural. The same process applies to every limit you want to transcend. Let me give you a framework for living beyond limits. First, identify your current limits. What do you believe you can't do, can't have, can't be? Write them down. Be honest. These are the invisible walls of your current reality. Second, question each limit. Is this limit based on fact or belief? Is it a law of physics or a story I've accepted? Have others transcended this limit? Could I be the one who proves this limit isn't real? This questioning creates cracks in the walls. Third, take one action that challenges one limit. Not a massive action, just one small step beyond what you currently believe is possible for you. This action is evidence gathering. You're collecting new data that contradicts the old story. Fourth, celebrate the discomfort. When you feel resistance, fear, or doubt as you approach a limit, celebrate it. That feeling is proof you're expanding. It's the sensation of growth. Learn to associate that discomfort with progress rather than danger. Fifth, surround yourself with limit breakers. The people you spend time with either reinforce your limits or challenge them. Spend time with people who believe in more, who've transcended limits you're still working on, who inspire you to grow. Here's your living beyond limits practice. Each week, identify one limit you've been accepting and commit to challenging it. Maybe it's, "I'm not creative," so you create something. Maybe it's, "I'm bad with money," so you educate yourself and make one better financial decision. Maybe it's, "I'm too old to start something new," so you start something. Document your limit-transcending journey. Write about the limits you've challenged, the discomfort you've felt, the progress you've made. This documentation becomes evidence that you are limitless, which makes challenging the next limit easier. Visualize yourself as limitless. Spend time each day imagining yourself without your current constraints. How would you move through the world? What would you attempt? How would you feel? This visualization reprograms your subconscious to accept limitlessness as your natural state. Remember, limits are learned, which means they can be unlearned. You weren't born believing you were limited. You learned limitation through experiences, through what you were told, through what you observed. You can learn limitlessness the same way, through new experiences, new narratives, new observations. The boundaries of your life are not fixed. They're flexible. They're responsive to your consciousness. As your consciousness expands, so does your reality. As you believe in more, you experience more. As you attempt more, you achieve more. You are not a limited being trying to become unlimited. You are an unlimited being who temporarily forgot your true nature. This entire journey has been about remembering. The universal lock was never really locked. It was just closed, and you had the key all along. That key is the recognition that you are consciousness itself, and consciousness has no limits except the ones it imagines. Stop imagining limits. Start imagining possibilities. Stop defending your constraints. Start exploring your potential. Stop living small. Start living infinite, because that's what you are. Infinite, limitless, boundless. Live like it. Create like it. Be it. The only limits that exist are the ones you accept. So stop accepting them. Your infinite life is waiting. It's been waiting all along. Step into it now. Chapter 20. The Final Unlocking, Infinite Reality. Here we are, the end of this journey, or perhaps I should say, the beginning, because what you've discovered through these chapters isn't something that ends. The universal lock isn't opened once and then you're done. It's an ongoing process, a continual unlocking, a never-ending expansion into greater and greater expressions of your infinite potential. Let me share the final secret, the ultimate truth that underlies everything we've explored together. There is no final destination. There is no point at which you've made it, and now you can stop growing, stop expanding, stop evolving, because you are not a finite being with limited potential. You are infinite consciousness, having a temporary human experience, and infinity by definition has no end. This means that every unlock reveals another lock. Every level you reach shows you the next level. Every breakthrough opens the door to the next breakthrough, not because you're deficient or incomplete, but because expansion is your nature. Growth is what consciousness does. Evolution is the fundamental impulse of life itself. And this is beautiful. This is liberating, because it means you never have to have it all figured out. You never have to be perfect. You never have to reach some imaginary finish line where you've finally unlocked all your potential. And now you can coast. You just have to keep unlocking, keep growing, keep expanding, one step at a time, one realization at a time, one choice at a time. Everything you've learned in this audiobook has been preparing you for this understanding. The universal lock isn't a single mechanism that clicks open and then you're done. It's more like a combination lock with infinite tumblers, each one falling into place as you grow in consciousness, each one revealing new dimensions of your potential. You've learned that the key is within you, in your consciousness, your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions. You've remembered the forgotten power of your mind and how it shapes reality. You've understood how to align with universal laws and flow with divine intelligence. You've connected to source energy and discovered your infinite purpose. But these aren't achievements to be checked off a list. They're practices to be lived daily. They're truths to be embodied continuously. They're realizations to be deepened perpetually. The person you are right now, reading these words, having come this far on the journey, you're not the same person who started this audiobook. You've changed. Your consciousness has shifted. Your awareness has expanded. You see possibilities you couldn't see before. You believe things you didn't believe before. You know things you didn't know before. And tomorrow, next week, next year, you'll be different again, more expanded, more awakened, more aligned with your infinite nature. This is the path. Not a destination, but an endless unfolding. Not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. Not a lock to be opened once, but a continual unlocking, a perpetual becoming. So what do you do now? How do you live with this understanding? You commit to the practice, not perfectly, because perfection isn't the point, but consistently, because consistency is what creates transformation. You commit to remembering who you really are, not the limited identity you've believed yourself to be, but the infinite consciousness you've always been. Choosing your reality consciously through your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and actions, rather than creating by default from unconscious programming. Staying present, because the present moment is where your power lives and where creation happens. Loving unconditionally yourself and all of life, because love is the highest frequency and the most powerful creative force. Living beyond limits, questioning every constraint, challenging every boundary, refusing to accept that what was impossible yesterday must remain impossible today. Connecting to Source regularly, deliberately, deeply, so you're creating from infinite power rather than from limited personal will. Living your purpose, expressing your unique gifts, contributing your particular frequency, doing what you came here to do. Flowing with divine intelligence, trusting the process, releasing control, allowing rather than forcing, and above all, being patient and compassionate with yourself. Because this is a lifetime practice. This is a journey without end. There will be days when you forget everything you've learned, days when you slip back into old patterns, days when you feel disconnected, limited, powerless, and that's okay. That's not failure. That's just being human. The work isn't about never falling back. It's about remembering to return. It's about noticing when you've forgotten and consciously choosing to remember again. Every moment is a choice point. Every moment is an opportunity to unlock another level of your potential. Every moment is a chance to align with your infinite nature or to forget it. The universal lock is always there, always responding to your consciousness. Your work is simply to keep turning the key, to keep choosing awareness over unconsciousness, creation over reaction, love over fear, expansion over contraction, possibility over limitation. Here's my final invitation to you. Believe in yourself, not just in your current capabilities, but in your infinite potential. Trust that you have everything within you to create whatever you truly desire. Take action. Don't just read or listen or learn. Apply, practice, experiment, try things, fail, learn, grow. The knowledge means nothing without application. Be patient. Transformation takes time. Seeds planted today might not show visible growth for months. Trust the process. Keep watering the seeds. Keep tending your consciousness. Stay committed. When things get difficult, and they will, don't quit. Don't abandon the practices. Don't forget what you've learned. This is when the work matters most. Share your light as you unlock your potential. Help others unlock theirs. Teach what you've learned. Live as an example. Contribute your gifts. The more you give, the more you receive. And never, ever stop unlocking. There is always more, always deeper, always higher, always new dimensions of potential to explore and embody. The universal lock is not a problem to be solved. It's an invitation to an infinite adventure, an adventure of self-discovery, of conscious creation, of becoming more and more of who you truly are. You've been given the tools, you've learned the principles, you've done the work. Now it's time to live it, to be it, to embody it in every moment of your life. The universal lock is unlocked. Your infinite potential is available. Your power is activated. Your purpose is clear. What you do with this awakening is entirely up to you. Will you return to old patterns, forgetting what you've learned? Or will you step fully into your power as a conscious creator? Will you let fear keep you playing small? Or will you courageously explore the vastness of your potential? Will you settle for the familiar and comfortable? Or will you embrace the adventure of continuous growth and expansion? The choice, as always, is yours. It's always been yours. That's the ultimate truth of the universal lock. You've always had the key. You've always had the power. You've always been free. You just needed to remember. Now you've remembered, now you know, now you're awake. So go, create, express, become, unlock, expand, live your infinite reality, because you are not ordinary. You were never meant for a small life. You are consciousness itself, temporarily disguised as a human being, here to explore the infinite possibilities of creation. The universal lock is open. The infinite reality is yours. Welcome home. End of Act 4, The Universal Lock. Complete a final message from the author. Thank you for taking this journey with me. The fact that you've stayed with this audiobook to the very end tells me something important about you. You're serious about unlocking your potential. You're committed to growth. You're ready for transformation. But remember, this audiobook is just the beginning. The real work happens in your life, in your daily choices, in your moment-to-moment consciousness. Don't let this be another piece of content you consume and forget. Let it be the catalyst that changes everything. Start today. Choose one practice and commit to it. Take one action that scares you. Make one decision from your highest self. And then tomorrow, do it again. And the next day, and the next. This is how infinite potential becomes lived reality, one conscious choice at a time. The universal lock is not locked anymore. You've turned the key. The door is open. Infinite possibilities await. Now step through. Your extraordinary life is calling. Answer it.